Hello, everybody. If it's Wednesday, it's Warhammer, and that must mean it's time for another episode of Warhammer Weekly. Joining me, as always, is my co-host Tom, here to celebrate our 7th anniversary. And you've been with me the whole time, Tom. How's it feel?
Hello, friends. It's been a wonderful 7 years, and I am happy to be here. It's a wonderful. Hey, what's our anniversary? Is it like wool or something? It's not wood.
I was told copper or wool. I definitely want wool.
Yeah.
What am I going to do with copper?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't want copper pieces in D&D. I don't want copper right now.
It's true.
There you go. I'll just shout it out right from the top. Thank you to both Stone Monk for the original image, and then to Chuck Moore for this awesome, just quick change to our graphic for our 7th anniversary. Strength Hammer is a hero amongst us, as always. So thank you. Happy 7th anniversary, Tom. It's been great sharing all these years with you. I look forward to many more. If you like the show, why not just hit like right now? Why not just assume it's going to be an awesome show and hit that like button? Just windmill slam it right on the top. 7th anniversary. Boom. Hit that like. Subscribe if you haven't. All those kind of fun things. All right, we have got a slam bang show for you tonight. We're going to talk LVO. We're going to talk the LVO games. We're going to talk the release. We're going to talk the roadmap. We're going to talk FAQs. This is all going to be spread out. And we're even going to do a little deep dive into history. I've got a couple things I didn't tell Tom about planned, as per normal. So, here we go. I have more things that I had to prepare for visual graphics for this show that I've ever done in the history of this entire show.
That's impressive, first of all. And second of all, let me just tell you, you could have put it on the document, and I wouldn't have seen it anyways.
Yeah, I understand that. So, let's get to the news, of course, up front.
Let's start with the no rumor engine.
Correct. There is no rumor engine this week. I looked, it just didn't do it this week. They're like, nah, we give up. We don't have any more models. We're all out of Eldar and Chaos Space Marines to show you pieces of. And we're not releasing anything else for a while, so just get into it. Welcome to the current reality. So, none of that.
So fun. Well, in order, you actually have the LVO recap. Do you want to do that first or the previews?
I do. I want to do the LVO thing first, but I want to do the games first.
Okay, that's
like
fine.
The tournament. We can get through this. We're not going to deep dive.
How about them Stormcast?
How about them Stormcast? If you mean cities with 1,040 points of Stormcast, I mean, yeah.
I'm talking about Stormcast units.
Sure. Yes, exactly. First off, I brought up a little presentation here. Credit to the people you see on screen. And of course, to SJ Arcade, first and foremost amongst them, who put this all together. If you want to see a very deep dive discussion on this, you should have joined all of us on Hey Whoa Twitch's Twitch channel. I was there watching as well, and it was fantastic. Hey Whoa Twitch, when you need all the best analysis combined with hat changes, that's your guy. That's your go-to guy. And one of the sweetest voices. He's just got a great voice for this. But anyways, they put together this incredibly deep dive on the data. We're not going to do all of it. We're just going to talk about some of it, Tom. Because we don't, otherwise we'd be here. This would be the whole show. But yeah. I did want to talk a little bit about what we saw at LVO. So first off, here was your standing after 5 games. So this is before the finals. Let's lay down a little groundwork here. LVO is technically a 5-round tournament that cuts to a top 8. So the top 8 people after 5 rounds then go on the Sunday to play a single elimination, semifinal, blah, 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 progression. Yep. Okay. 4, then 2, then whatever.
Yep.
4 winners, 2 winners, 1 winner. Okay. So, this is after the 5 rounds of normal play, like what we would consider the normal tournament. Yeah? You with me? Okay.
Yep. I just want you to know no one can actually see that graphic with any of the names on it.
Because it's small. Well, this is where we are. I don't know what to tell you. I can't make it bigger.
That's
People
fine.
can see it if they have a big screen, I guess. It's Stormcast Eternals, Cities of Sigmar Phoenicium with the all Phoenix list, not using any nonsense from Stormcast. This is just Phoenixes in Phoenicium with assassins and a Scourge Runner chariot. Amazing. In second place.
Balls right there.
My personal hero of the event. Shout out to Scott R, who I think is in the chat right now, who ran this event, by the way.
Yeah.
Amazing TO and all around great person. Living Cities in third place with 1,060 points of Stormcast in it, and 1,040 and 960 points of Cities. A Bloodtooth's Iron Jaws with Cabbage and Pigs. An Ogre Maw Tribe's Blood Gullet player with Yetis in sixth place. Night Haunt Tom with Nagash in the Emerald Host, just like you like it, in seventh place. And or in eighth place, sorry, there you go. Or seventh, and then the Soulblight Gravelords, Virkos Dynasty, Zombies, Gorslav, and a Mega. This is a Mega Gargant and 120 zombies in eighth place. That's pretty good. There we go. That was your top 8.
Yep.
So with this, just to blow through this quickly, the semifinals were Savage Gains. The Gorslav 120 zombies, Big Drog, Fort Kicka, like madness, beat the Oops All Dragons.
Yep.
The Phoenicium took out the Emerald Host, so there's your enemy, Tom. They were like, nah, dog, I ain't about that mortal wound life. I don't care what you got, son.
Well, I have both armies. Like, that's literally what I'm painting right now.
These two armies, yeah. So the Phoenicium proves themselves a powerhouse. I love this. I cannot love this enough. The Living City with the large Stormcast contingent. I should say they also had Doralia Van Denst, the best Denst.
The living Stormcast list.
Yes. Took out the Ogre player. Sad. This was Gavin. Remember this name. Their names are up here. I should say their names because it's important. These are all great players. Everybody who's in this top 8 is obviously an amazing player.
Yep.
And then lastly, Noah with the Bloodtooths got beaten by Murgonk, who we've had on the show from the Stormkeep. Great dude and a very, very good player. Running a Stormcast list that doesn't look anything like what you would expect it to be. Like, yes, there are some long strikes in there, but no dragons. Just a bunch of Annihilators, Grand Hammers, ready to go do some mean work. So way to go there. The next one was Power in Numbers. So we're down to the final 4 now, as it were. Yeah. Yet again, the Soulblight's Gravelords player with the Virkos, all those zombies and a Mega. I mean, it was just so much DPS check, right? Took out Murgonk, sadly. And then the Phoenix player goes down, which is Jeremy, to Gavin, the mostly Stormcast Cities player.
Yep.
That brought us to the championship match, Feral Foray, which saw Gavin take the game basically at the top of 2 when he played into the double and brought down all that meat and just went to town. Yep.
Ate some zombies.
Yeah, I mean, when he, I watched, so Honest Wargamer streamed the final game through Joe Cryer, our buddy Joe Cryer, who was doing it on his phone. Here's what I gotta say.
iPhone for the win.
This was some of the best coverage I've seen of a game. I make fun of Joe Cryer relentlessly because he deserves it. But Joe did a fantastic job.
Yeah.
And
Joe. Absolutely.
And it was awesome. Like, honestly, this is how I want games covered. Just get somebody one of those selfie sticks, turn the camera around, and call it a day. Like, at all the top, like, Honest Wargamer, Rob, you've overinvested in technology. He has all these different cameras that can zoom and all this stuff. Like, he has to travel with this setup. Nah, dog. Just travel with iPhone. That's all you need. Because he could just be like...
Joe Cryer and an iPhone.
Yeah, correct. He would just be like, Joe, walk around the table to the other side. And Joe would just do that. And we could be like, he'd be like, zoom in on that thing. Okay.
I mean, that's a good call.
It was actually, I wasn't, because the top-down view has never been a comfortable way for me to watch Warhammer. That's not how I look at Warhammer, right?
Yeah.
I look at it from this point of view, like from my eye line.
Yeah, the 2/3 angle.
Yeah, and that's like, I want an isometric Diablo 2 view of the table, and that's what I got. So there you go. So congratulations to Gavin. Amazing win. For as much as we joked about the 1,000 points of Stormcast, I mean, it's a very powerful list and very cleverly constructed. Between all the crossbowmen, Dense, like, I just like a lot of what he had here. It's a great list. So here's some interesting stats, Tom. There's the final standings, all told. Obviously, the Living Cities list on the top, Virkos in second, Mergonk in third, and the Phoenix list in fourth, and then so on from there. I'm not going to cover... This is really nice. SJ Arcade went and tracked all their games. So what was their road to victory, like all the games they played through. I'm not going to get through all this because there's too much. I want to jump to these stats he put together at the end, which is this. You ready for these stats, Tom? These blew my mind.
Hit me.
The highest ranking LRL player was 54th place.
I heard LRL did not do well.
Okay. There was no Doc in the top 10, but they did show up in 12th place. So okay.
Yep.
So still there, still pushing toward the top.
Yep.
There was no Seraphon in the top 10. That was Rob's call to take the tournament, so swing and a miss. 16th place was the highest for Seraphon. Still respectable.
Yep.
No Legion of the First Prince until 85th.
I don't think it's an American thing. Like, I honestly think it's a handful of players in the UK, spruiking that score. I played a Legion of the First Prince today, and I was like, okay. Like,
Did you play Sean?
No.
Demon Lord Sean? Okay.
No, I played some local folks. So, yeah, I'm not convinced.
Yeah, I mean, there are some strong American players.
Yeah, certainly.
It's just, it's a very finicky list. And yes, I'm aware my dog is somewhat whining. I'm sorry, my wife just got home. We're all going to have to put up with this until she comes to get them. This is the world we live in. There were only 2 Blades of Corn players in the entire tournament.
Hats off to you, gentlemen.
Yeah, full credit to those. I think there was 2 Skaven players as well. So.
Oof.
Yeah, absolutely. To Scott's point, like 16th out of 177 is still a very respectable showing. Like, absolutely. I in no way want to besmirch the Doc or Seraphon player. It was just a statement that those 2 are classically seen as some of the big bad actors in the meta, and neither of them placed in the top hard in the top 10. So, here's a fun breakdown for you, Tom. You ready for this one? This is all the armies. Okay, so this is the top 50 breakdown, and the top 25. 20% of the armies in the top 25 were Stormcast Eternals.
I can't imagine why.
Okay. 4% means you have one list, obviously. Like, if you're in the top 25. Like, if you're at 4%, you're one list.
Yep.
In the top 50, Stormcast still 20%. Hello, dear. How you doing? Okay.
I am confident that more than 60% of the time when you talk about Stormcast, I don't care.
There you go. That's fine. I love you, dear. Can you please take your barking dog?
Please. No, thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's whining. Not even barking. Whining.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
It wasn't my dog. It was your dog.
Gotcha. All right, so 20% Stormcast. Okay, the doggos are gone now. Thank you, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the little dog interlude. Hit like for dogs, I guess. I don't know. That's a strong percentage, man. 20%. The fact that maintains into the top 50 is crazy.
Yeah.
Like, that is a wackadoo stat in my estimation.
It tells me something is not working right.
It's something.
Well, and so here's the question, and you said that, like, that's the breakdown of Stormcast. Like, what you're not taking into account is what percentage of your cities was Stormcast. Because we had a cities army win that was half Stormcast.
Yeah, sure. Like, how much of that COS 12% is heavily reliant on Stormcast?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That, like, they're riding on the backs of dragons and fulminators. So, like, clearly not the Phoenix, the Phoenicium guy, but
yes, who again is our hero.
Yeah.
You ready for this one, Tom? Ba-boom. This is the Grand Alliance breakdown. Okay.
Yeah.
This one knocked me off my chair. Here we go.
Order.
Order. Of the top 25, 64% were Order armies. And then it went, 3-3-3 from there.
So everybody was bitching that I've heard about the fact that we have five of the next 6 books are, no, I'm sorry, 4 of the next 6 books are Order?
3, half. Half.
No.
We'll talk about it in the roadmap. It's half. Don't worry about it.
Okay. Regardless.
No, you're right. It is 4. I'm sorry. It is 4.
Yeah, exactly. It's 4. And so, like, yeah, Order, in general, there are more Order factions than other, like...
Sure. Like, yes, there are more, like, of the armies, there are more Order armies than any other army.
But it shouldn't be 60% of the top, meta.
It's not 64% of the armies are Order armies.
Yes.
That is not correct.
Correct.
So, yes, that is the challenge there. As a point of fact, right, you're talking about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There are 9 out of the 25 are Order armies. I had to actually go count real quick.
That aren't Order?
No, 9 out of... Well, I'm saying of the current armies, there are 25 armies.
Oh, you're saying the actual percentage.
Yeah,
right.
9 of those 25 are Order. Right? You jump to the top 50, it doesn't change that much. 57%.
Yeah.
Goes down slightly. Mainly because chaos and destruction chew up a little in death.
So, I mean,
death and destruction basically.
Fire players did well, right?
No.
Right.
No. All right.
No.
So that's LVO.
No.
There you go. With that out of the way, let's now move on to talk about the LVO. You want to do the LVO reveal next?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mike Davis said, first of all, hi, Jake Dog. I will tell your wife that. Absolutely. Secondly, Mike Davis said the statistic is the opposite of all the fluff. Yeah, exactly. In the fluff, like, Orders on their heels, they barely eke out an existence in this hard Scrabble world where chaos reigns and death is around every corner. But on the tabletop, Order is just punching nerds. What's up? What's up, kids?
I mean, the reality is this. We are in the age of Sigmar, and the bastions of Order have indeed taken root, and this is the fruit of that. The cities of Sigmar are taking names.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk reveals. Here we go.
So,
all right. I brought this guy up first.
How about them ghosts?
Well, before we get to ghosts, we got to talk about a 40k thing, Tom, since it's tangentially relevant to us. Yes.
Okay.
The full where's Alex asked where's the full version of that presentation? It's on Heywo Twitch's Twitch channel. If you go check it out, he goes through it in detail. We got to talk about this Avatar of Khaine, Tom, because it's just cool as. And look, this is a perfectly valid AOS model. That's a thing. The army has it.
No, it's not. It's not a perfectly acceptable AOS thing. You want to know why?
I'm ready, Tom. Why?
Because that unit is stupid.
Well, whatever you think of it, sort of normatively, I suppose. It's a real model that's in AOS. You can play an Avatar of Khaine solo.
Sure.
And I will grant you that right now, it might not be that good in the overall army. It's not bad. It's just not good to the standards of Daughters of Khaine.
Yeah, but how big is that? Is that on like 100 mil round?
He's big-ish. Who cares? Who cares?
You have to like put on like one of those like V-shaped mountain
Exactly. This is Tom. Look, this guy or Rio de Janeiro Avatar of Khaine. It's this guy every time. Okay.
Sure. I mean, I can't argue with that.
There we go. Thank you. I honestly hope this is just what they use in the new doc book. I hope this is the reason for the. We'll talk about this in a moment. I hope this guy is just the reason for the new doc book, and they're like, just go buy that thing. Just here, it's way better now. It's awesome. He woke up all the way. Knock yourself out. Go nuts. They said he's on an 80 mil, by the way. So there you go.
I mean, he could be awesome with a head swap.
He has multiple different heads.
Yeah, I know there are multiple different heads. Because like one of them is, I think, the full-on like Spartan Mohawk, yes. Right?
One of them is the Spartan Mohawk. One of them is the unhelmeted head. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So, anyways, we had to talk about that 40K thing because it's cool, and I really dig this model like a lot. I
mean, it's fine.
All right, now this thing. Now let's talk about these ghosty boys, Tom. So, the Arena of Shades. I think Rob called this a FOMO box, and I like that term, so I'm going to call them that too, the FOMO boxes. As in, like, the fear of missing out box.
Oh, I understand. Is it just because, like,
because of the heroes?
Right, but that's not even a thing, because they just announced with the new Fireslayer box, the individual heroes are going to be available.
Which is good. That's a good thing. Yeah, absolutely. We'll get there. So,
right.
But they're these sort of limited boxes, whatever we want to call them.
Right.
We have Daughters versus...
great deals.
Sure. Daughters versus Ghosts. Okay. These are two things that you have more love of than I do. I like Daughters. I don't care about Ghosts. Talk to me about this box, Tom. What did you think when you saw this box?
There's one half of this box that is an amazing value.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
In one half of this box that I'm going to trade or sell away.
Okay.
And here's the deal.
You want to add any more to that?
No, I mean, see, here's the deal. Like, for anybody that actually has Nighthaunt, what you'll notice when you look across this box is this is, like, ignore the new units, right, that are in this box.
Okay. Which we'll zoom in on in a second.
And ignore the heroes and ignore the archer unit, right? Like, which are, like, that's a real question on how
cross boos, yes, as they're called, the cross boos.
The reality is that the Nighthaunt box is an amazing value because never have we had any of these units in a bundle box.
Okay.
Like I recently purchased a bunch of chain gas, like 2 boxes of chain gas, because I couldn't get them any other way. Right? Like and it was like $40 for a hero and 2 stupid models.
Mm-hmm.
Now you get them in this bundle, which is awesome. The fact that you can get Blade Geists in this bundle is amazing. On top of a new unit itself, like I'm gonna get 3 of these.
Okay, so we're hard in on this.
Like it's like because again, I don't have any Blade Geists, and so that gives me a full unit of Blade Geists. It gives me 12 crossbows, and I don't need the other stuff, but I'll just sell it. It'll be fine. Daughters, though, like for me, it's just not enticing.
Okay.
First of all, the Doomfire are terrible models. I don't care if you like them. It doesn't matter. They're bad. Like I just straight converted them. It's 5 dudes on horses in a Daughters of Cain army.
Understood.
Okay. We'll start there. And then like I just have more Canary and witches than I could ever need. And so like and none of that is meta pushing. Like you don't need lots of any of that stuff right now in the meta. It just doesn't like that's not what is good in Daughters. Now, that could change with the new book. We don't know what the new book is going to have. But in general, I love the Nighthaunt side. I'm neutral on the Daughters side just because I don't need any of it. And like the Doomfires, which you don't ever see bundled with anything else. In general, I don't like them as models. So I'm just straight going to get rid of, all of it.
Sure. Okay, well, let's zoom in on these heroes because there are some new heroes. So first off, we saw little images of a teaser of this guy at the beginning of the year. This is our Ghost Reads book right here. So what do you think of this dude? Do you like this guy?
He's fine. He's fine.
I think he's pretty amazing. I don't know why he's got 3 arms, but
that's what I don't like is that it feels too much like they're emerging the aesthetics from OBR into Nighthaunt, with like the shaped like bone stuff, and then like the weird misshapen ghosts. Like I don't know, I just. And then on top of that, I look at his color scheme, and the reason why they have this weird transition from like green to white is because they actually don't have any good delineated. Like unlike the other ghosts, the way that this has actually been sculpted.
I understand. He's not wearing a shawl. He's naked. He's
naked. And so there's just this weird incentive. And so like I can already see looking at this guy, I'm going to have a painting problem just because of like how they've sculpted this guy compared to all the rest of their ghosts. So I don't know. Like he's fine. Like I know a lot of people like him and cool. But like I like Cruel Gas better than him. If you're like talking about extra heroes that look awesome.
Okay. What is this guy, Tom? What do you think he is? 6 wound spellcaster?
6 wound spellcaster that has actually you know what? I don't even think he's a spellcaster. I don't know, maybe. He has candles and a lot of
bookkeepers are not spellcasters, but he also has a lantern. So
it's true. No, I see that. Yep. No, I think that he is a 6 wound caster that will have some type of cursing. I think what he will do is he will write. You'll name a hero, and they will suffer. You'll roll a d6 in the hero phase. On a 2+, they'll take a d3 mortals, and that'll last until they die, and then you choose another hero.
Okay, so he's putting people's name in the book. Is this like a Death Note thing?
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
It'll be something like that. That's what I'm guessing. Just from the fluff text and stuff like that. I have no leaks. I don't know.
Sure. I mean, a lot of book people, it depends. If you've got a scroll, not a spellcaster. If you've got a book, often a spellcaster. So, depends.
No, it's true. It's true.
Okay. Crossbows. What are the crossbows stat line going to be, Tom? These come 5 in a unit with a little standard bearer guy. So, tell me about this is all, we don't know this, by the way. This is all conjecture in case that's not clear. We're just guessing. I hope that's obvious. But what are the crossbows stats? What do they shoot, Tom? What's this shooting profile on the crossbows look like? They're clearly semi-elite, 5 in a unit.
I think it'll be 4s and 3s, neg 1 ren 1. They do 6s on mortals, and units can't benefit from cover.
4s and 3s, neg 1 rend, 1 damage, more 6s are mortals, and the unit can't benefit from cover. Okay.
Yeah. And you know what? I'll even go one farther, and I'll say that they're actually it's 6s to wound that they proc the mortals, not 6s to hit.
What's the range?
I think it's 18 inches.
Sure.
And I think that they probably have a movement of 6. And they're probably 2 attacks a model.
Okay, so 2 shots at 18 inches, 4s and 3s, neg 1 damage, 6s to wound or immortal.
Yep, and they're 5 up save, 1 wound each, and they're going to be 100 points.
Okay, all right, that's an authoritative call. I like it. Let's see how it turns out.
I mean, I'm literally making this up on the fly,
no,
but we'll see.
Yeah, it's good. How about this lady? How about our Doc new hero with one of the biggest sort of rocks that we've yet seen a hero standing on? She is way up on that rock.
She is way up on that rock. I don't know. She.
I'm not asking for stats. Just what do you think? First off, you think she looks cool?
I mean, I think she looks great. I think she's basically like a slaughter.
Sister's a slaughter hero.
Yes, I think she has the Sister Slaughter mask, so clearly she's related to them in some way. Because as I originally said when I predicted this, when we saw a bit of this model in the preview, and a bunch of people poo-pooed me and was like, "No, it's not going to be a Sister Slaughter hero." No, it is. You're right. Like, I mean, that's exactly what it is.
Thank you.
I was going to look at the name of our current daughter's things. I think we talked about this, right? Because we have a hag queen, we have a slaughter queen. All but this is a slaughter hag.
No, they gave her a name already. She's like the Hexatrix or something like that. I don't remember exactly. It's something like that.
Boo.
Gladiatrix. I don't know. It's something around that space.
Yeah, it's fine. She looks great. I love
my only problem is her face. Okay.
Which face?
Her normal face, the non-helmeted face.
Yep.
I never liked the Sisters of Slaughter helmets. I never use any of them. I think they look stupid. But
I definitely did because I didn't have to paint hair then.
I put hair on everybody because it's what makes models look cool.
I understand.
My issue is she seems very taciturn. She's super chill about being in the middle of this battle. You know, a lot of the daughters seem pretty upset, emotional, or angry or something. They have, yeah, there you go, Gladiatrix. You know, like, in other words, they seem like they care to some degree that they're in a fight.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, like they're into it.
Yeah.
But she's not.
Yeah, like my attitude. Someone made a comment about me not being excited about her. Like my attitude is what's on her face.
Yeah,
she's
exactly.
just like, cool.
Yep.
I'm here.
Yep.
Do my thing.
So, how about this guy? Well, we also got to talk about a Horus Heresy thing. Tom, did you think we were going to talk about a Horus Heresy thing? We are on this show because we're going to talk about Kabanda, homie.
I mean, he looks great. What size base do you think he's on, though?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't care. It doesn't matter. He looks like he's kind of on the same oval that the regular Bloodthirsters are. If you look in the preview article for this, it literally says, this is Kabanda, could also be used as a Bloodthirster in your 40k armies or in your Blades of Khorne army. Like, they're straight up trying to push this for AOS as well. Like, they just said, yep, he's good for AOS. Here's the link. Check out what Blades of Khorne is all about.
I mean, he looks great.
Yeah. Yeah, he does. He's by far the best looking Bloodthirster we have. Are you kidding me over here? That guy's amazing. Now, I don't know if he's going to be resin or plastic. That's my only concern.
Yeah, like I could see myself having like a 4 Bloodthirster army.
I'm in for this guy. Oh, very nice. They said that the dude will have AOS rules. Cool.
Oh,
if we actually get Kabanda rules, that's cool. That's super cool. Does he remind me of the Archvillain Demon? No, because he doesn't have a bunch of crap all over him that's inexplicable. He has like logical things. That's not a slam on the Archvillain Demon. I have one. I painted one. I like it. It's just, as per most 3D sculptors, they like people need to wheel it back. That's all I'll say. Stop with the texture for no reason. Every 3D sculptor I see operating right now with a Patreon is afraid of smooth space. Just let a muscle be a muscle. At any rate, oh, it's cool. They said it was resin on the stream. Okay, great. I missed that part. I'm sorry, everyone. So it's fine. Their current resin has been fine. But he looks amazing. So I'm in. I like him.
He does look nice.
Yeah, cool new Bloodthirster model. Good. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, come on now. And it doesn't matter what base he's on. Obviously, we're just going to put him on whatever base we need to. You know, thank you, Noops. Yes, Noops has said negative space. That's right. A lot of 3D sculptors fear negative space. What's going to be the price on this guy? That we don't know. I mean, I imagine decently expensive. So.
$210.
You said $200?
Yeah, $210.
He's $210. He's Forge World resin, so he could be quite expensive. Who knows?
Yep.
We'll see. All right, and that's pretty much LVO.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yep.
So.
Yep. But it's not.
Okay.
In the preview announcements of like things coming.
Yes.
You know, like they had like 4 days, 3 days, 2 days, 1 day. There was a silhouette that was very clearly defined.
Okay.
Do you remember what that was?
Are you talking about the Ironclad?
Yes, there was a KO Ironclad silhouette,
okay.
And we got no information beyond the preview teaser.
You know, the people who put that together in the marketing department just look for cool art assets, right?
But they were using shadows of like the things that they were going to announce, and
it was just the boat. It wasn't a silhouette. They had negative space in their announcement and was like, cool, what kind of neat little art assets do I have? And somebody looked through and said, oh, neat, a little boat. I'll put a little boat in there. because it's delivering you the news. There you go. That's what it was, Tom. It meant nothing.
Don't do this to me.
It meant nothing. It's just they have a list of art assets they can use. That's it. That's all it was. Sorry.
They're killing me over here.
Like, I work with marketing people. I know how they operate.
I stayed up and watched that show because I wanted to know. Like, I was like, hey, over here, there's a boat. And I got to the end and went, what?
Nope. No boat.
No
boats.
Like, I didn't know if it was like, it was so disappointing.
No, like when you're a marketing person, you have to fill the space with interesting things that grab people's eyes, and you have a folder of your art assets you can use. And they just looked in that folder. That one looks good. Boop. Perfect. Fits right on there. Clock it a little bit that way. Done.
It was so disappointing.
It's no different than any icon I've used. That would be like somebody looking at my marketing document that I put together for a professional thing and being like, well, he used a little pile of coins, so I must get money out of this software. No. No, I just used a little pile of coins. Okay. All right. So there you go. Demonic Teddy, they missed the boat. There it is. There it is.
They did indeed.
So we got this LVO reveal. It was whatever it was. I too was up. The reason I missed the Kabanda resin was honestly because they showed him. This is about maybe 1:30 when he came on the screen AM. I had an early meeting the next morning. And I was like, cool, got it. He looks awesome. I'm a buyer. Night. I just went to bed. So I didn't listen to them talk about it at all.
Yep. Looks good though.
Yeah, but at any rate, then somehow, Tom, we thought, well, it's over. That's all they're going to do. They're going to talk about this. And then all of a sudden, 3 days later, seemingly, for no reason whatsoever, 4 days later, whatever it was, some very short amount of time later, we get an article that's about the roadmap. And that's going to be our main topic tonight. We'll get there. So we're going to talk about the roadmap in deep detail. But I was just like, I was shocked that suddenly we're getting a roadmap. We're going to have to dig into this one. This is bigger than a news story. This needs full-on investigation. So we will be breaking down the roadmap here in just a few moments. All right. So, and then, sneakily, what happened today? But my, if we didn't get some FAQs. Nobody saw it coming. Boom, stealth FAQ.
I woke up and everybody was like, hey, Tom. I was tagged everywhere on the FAQ. Like, hey, have you seen this yet? In every chat that I'm in. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for thinking of me. I appreciate it. GW, thank you for thinking of me with my event coming up in 3 days. I appreciate it. The Nighthaunt FAQ dropped. I mean, it's pretty much expected, right? Like, they did what we kind of thought they would do.
Yeah. I mean, I think we got the things that you would expect to make things work. So let's just talk through the sort of three main elements of this real quick.
Sure.
So, if Nagash is part of a Nighthaunt army, do friendly Nighthaunt units wholly within 12 inches of him benefit from Deathless Spirits? Yes. So effectively, he's still counting as a hero in the army to grant the 6+ ward save. Of course, he should have. It would have been completely logical.
It's a general or a Nighthaunt hero.
Right. Correct. Yep. So, great. Good stuff. Good answer. Excellent. I mean, not at all surprising. If it would have been the other answer, I think we would have all had some serious questions. But it wasn't.
Right.
So good. If Nagash is part of a Nighthaunt army, can a friendly Nighthaunt unit that is being set up using the Spectral Summons command ability be set up wholly within 12 inches of him? Also, yes. Again, great. Perfect. What you would expect. That sort of the army rules don't affect him, but he can affect down onto them.
Right. Exactly.
He's the boss. So you could think of Nagash in Nighthaunt like Tony Danza. Okay? he is in fact the boss. So there we go. Even though Tony wasn't actually the boss in that show, as Abed proved. And then we got the other one here that came out in Broken Realms, Be'lakor, the official answer.
Which was not a clarification.
Sure. Okay.
It was an errata. They changed the rule.
Sure. They did change the wording. You can change wording to make things more clear when that was their original intention anyways.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. Or you can change the wording to rule out something that does currently work, which is what they did.
Well, it doesn't matter what it was. Here's what it is. What it is that the Emerald Host, no, Nagash does not get the 2-up bodyguard onto Hex Wraiths.
Yeah, that's fine.
Good. That's exactly the correct answer. There is no way Nagash should have been getting bodyguarded under any circumstance. So there you go. By a bunch of Hex Wraiths. Let me say that. Okay. Yeah, all fine. So that was our FAQ. I mean, I like that they did this. Keep doing this. Just put out these FAQ. It doesn't need to be a whole thing. Right?
Right.
I mean, this is fine. You can just drop the... You can just drop that.
Just update the PDF, update the app, and move on. It doesn't need to be a big to-do. It doesn't need to be something that people are clamoring for 4 weeks waiting on it to release.
Yeah, you can just answer these questions like this anytime. We're happy for it. I like this. Thumbs up. A+ work. Keep it up. Keep up the good work. Maybe fix the ward thing we talked about last week next, the bodyguard ward thing.
There's no error there. And by the way, that works for Emerald Host too. I don't know if you... Yeah.
We're not rehashing that. At any rate. And, you know, I'm glad they ruled this way. I want to see them just keep doing this. Put out a clear answer. When you know when there is a question that has clearly been frequently asked in the community.
And they have clearly come down on an answer. Like, they know what the answer is clearly.
Perhaps we should just publish that and make it official.
Yeah.
Don't, no need to wait a couple weeks until some magical day where it'll get a lot of traction. Put it out. Put it up there. Push the app update.
Yep.
By the way, I like that this came out at the same time as the app update. That was great. Good. Keep up the good work. Like, I have no negatives here. This is all positive. Thank you, GW. Well done. Keep up the good work. I want to see this continue rolling. So, more, please. Please, sir. Can I have some more? All right. Any other news there, Tom? I think we finally got through all the news.
Oh, I think that it's pretty good. I mean, obviously the roadmap, but we're going to cover that.
We're going to cover that, yes. All right. So, let's get to some pick of the week. So, pick of the week, Tom. What would you like to share with everybody?
Yeah, so Honest Wargamer Rob, friend of the show, had a pretty big announcement today where they did a show on a player rankings database that they've been working on.
Yeah.
So it's not public yet, so you have to go watch their video in order to kind of see how it works and functions. But it's an exciting thing. Oh, by the way, we did miss one thing.
You want to talk about the ITC thing?
And that was the ITC announcement. Like,
sure. I thought we'd talk about it in this context because I had a feeling one of us I was going to pick this if you didn't. So yeah, that's fine.
Because with the news, we also had the announcement that GW is going to be partnering with ITC to like bring ranked stuff to all their events and all this stuff. And Rob's framework, you know, it was a helpful kind of world ranking system that he created. I don't know how that's going to dovetail with what GW is doing, but yeah, I'm excited. So it's a neat video. Go check it out.
Yeah, I agree. I'll link it down below. If you didn't pick that, I was going to, because I think that it's honestly, we're not going to get into the Midwest's relationship with ITC here in this show. That's for other people to talk about. So it's But I like what Rob was doing, and I like that there are different ways to view sort of player performance. I think that's a good thing.
Yep.
So instead, my other recommendation was going to be for our good buddy 2+ Tough, who has his own series of wish lists and wish listing he went through around the new roadmap announcement that we're going to talk about. And so go check that out. It's super fun. I like a lot of the points he makes about them, about the various armies and what he hopes to see. I hope that it's the kind of thing that oftentimes, Doug doesn't in any way pretend to be a competitive player, right? That's not what he is. Doug is an enthusiast of the game. And what I love about his perspective and what he shares in his wish listing video is how he talks about this would make the army cool. This would be, more fun for me. And I think Doug speaks for a lot of people. And so I want to see, I hope that the books shape out a lot in the way he's describing it. Okay. So there you go. Rust Belt back, Blacksmith, and go back and watch last week's show, buddy, because we took a 25-minute deep dive Oxford-style debate into how it works.
Yep.
So it could not get more detailed than what we did last week. Okay. So there you go. All right. Let's talk about some hobby time. Well, Tom, you're coming up this weekend because
I am.
Columbus Brewhammer is happening this weekend, so we're going to a tournament, you and I, as well as Crazy Horse, who's also in the chat. He's going to be coming up as well. And I don't think I'm going to do well at this tournament. But that's okay.
You're gonna have Saint Karzai, right?
Yeah, I just think I'm going to get hammered by everything that's good in the meta, but that's fine. I'm going to enjoy playing the list. I am excited to go 1-4. I'm going to have to walk home. Fortunately, I'm in the same city at least. Like this is one of those 1-4 tourneys for me. I'm setting my expectations low.
No, there's no way, dude. You're playing Stormcast. Like as the data has shown.
There were two Stormcast players way down at the bottom too who had dragons in there. So just saying.
Here's the deal.
I'm going to be one of them.
Money, you don't go less than 3 and 2.
We'll see. We'll see. Anyways, but my hobby time, in prep, I have everything painted for the tournament, and I have a display board I'm using already for this tournament. But I'm working on this display board right here, and this has been the majority of my hobby time. That's what all this nonsense is back here. This is my new display board I'm building. I didn't intentionally turn it away from the camera. That's funny. I didn't really think about it beforehand. It's just where I've been working on it.
Yep.
But this is the new thing that I'll take to Holy Wars here in 2 weeks. So we have back-to-back tournament weeks.
Yeah. It's exciting. I've never had this before. So yeah. I have Night Haunt prep for this weekend. I actually, for hobby time this week, I went and played, I went to my local shop tonight and got 2 games in today. Did a game against Legion of First Prince, game against Stormcast. So that was fun. So I'm going to take Night Haunt this weekend, and the next weekend for our teams, I'm taking full-on Lumineth. So that'll be a fun mixing that up. And that's what I've been painting and cleaning up. And I am really it's so funny because my Lumineth are not I'm not taking a competitive, hyper competitive, hard edge Lumineth list.
I mean, it's an unusually constructed tournament as always for Holy Wars anyway. So
certainly. But it's a mixed arms, and it's so funny because I have a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and I look across it and I'm just I love painting, I love my scheme, and and so. It's funny, I want to finish painting this army. I don't know that I have no plans of ever taking Lumineth to a 2K tournament. I probably will at some point.
I'm sure you will.
But this is really the first time I've ever painted an army for fun. To high levels of just painting for painting's sake. Yeah,
Tom,
so
a good color scheme really does make things enjoyable to paint. That's just it. Like, if you have a paint scheme that you actually enjoy painting, I think people underestimate the value of a paint scheme you enjoy painting. It's why test models are so valuable for an army. Don't just paint something because you think that's how it's supposed to look. Like, experiment, try stuff. If you find something you really enjoy painting, using techniques or whatever that you enjoy doing, it radically changes the journey to 2,000 points and beyond.
It does, and like it's just super poppy. Like I love the, like it's. I've really enjoyed doing like since my dock, which was like very flat and drab, and like I wanted that because I wanted to feel like Ulgu and Shadow.
Yeah, sure.
But like my most recent stuff is Heish, and even my ghosts, I wanted like neon green, right?
Sure.
And so like I've been doing very vibrant colors with a lot of my recent schemes. And
get into the pop. Indeed. Okay. So, but I got lots of stuff. I got so much stuff to work on. Besides, let's say that board is only one of 10 projects I have lined up that all need to be painted for various things. Most of which I can't talk about. So, but you'll see them eventually. Okay, Tom, shall we talk roadmap?
You can start talking roadmap. I'll be right back.
Good. Then guess what? We're not actually talking roadmap. I tricked him because we're not talking roadmap to begin with. Instead, I want to talk about something else entirely. Okay? So instead, oops, not that. No, go away. Where are you? There we go. Ta-da. Sorry, everyone. Okay. Instead, we're going to take a quick look back, Tom, over the history of this show. So we've been around longer than AOS.
But wait, we're not doing roadmap?
We're going to. But before we get into the roadmap, I thought it was important, as this is our 7th anniversary, to just have a quick little chat about the history of the battle tomes that have been released and the metas that they created. I just want to talk about some strats, because something occurred to me that I'm going to make a point here. We'll probably do a whole show about this in the future. This is just a little teaser for that.
Sure.
Now, everything before Battletome Sylvaneth here in 2016 doesn't matter, because they're not real. Okay?
Okay. You're saying those Battletomes aren't real?
Yeah.
I mean...
Yeah. They don't have rules in them.
I disagree. I have 2 collector's editions of some of those early Battletomes, including collector's edition Everchosen. And it had rules. It had the Plague Touch Battalion in it.
Sure. It didn't have rules as we would come to think of them, right?
Indeed.
Sylvaneth was really the first. Yeah,
Yep.
This army in 2016 was really the first army battle tome that became what we think of now as battle tomes. Do you remember the announcement video for it?
No.
They filmed Rob, because he worked there at the time, and they handed him the book and just filmed his reaction to it.
Yeah.
It was great. Okay. So, you've got Sylvaneth, Beastclaw, all that stuff, 2016, right? So your meta before this is the Wild West in the AOS world, right? Sort of in this period of time, it's just the Wild West.
Like Battletome Terrain, Battletome Fort.
Yeah.
We had not one Battletome book about terrain, but 2 in that first year.
Correct. Chaos Dreadhold and the Dominion of Chaos. Yes, absolutely. Madness. But it was just wackadoo, right? Like, you had your classic Battle Brew, Monster Truck, Beastclaw riders with a bunch of goblins, right?
And then change hosts each.
And then into a meta where basically where there was nothing solid. Like, things were kind of all over the place, right?
Mm-hmm.
You had Sylvaneth, and certainly Kurnoth with bows were incredible, right? But they weren't like meta defining. They just existed. Right. Stuff that this time just existed in 2016. If you remember, 2016 was the first NashCon we went to.
Yep.
And, you were running Plague Touched at that time.
I was. That's why I knew it had rules in it.
Yeah, sure. I was running a bunch of mixed Tzeentch stuff, but not, you know what I mean? Like, not whatever, not from Disciples of Tzeentch yet.
I was generic Chaos.
Sure.
Like, let's be very clear. Like, I was everything's nerd work, but I was generic Chaos.
Yep. Okay. So then into this environment of a lot of nonsense and sort of a very unstable, wackadoo, lots of stuff all over the place, crazy meta, comes the Disciples of Tzeentch Tome in 2018, which is 2017. Sorry, I apologize. Which is
like a wrecking ball.
It just Miley Cyrus its way right into the scene. Okay. And it defined the meta, I think, in a way no other book ever has before.
Yep.
Because it was so potent and so holistic and just worked in a way that nothing else did.
Yep. And cheated.
Yeah. I mean, not in a way that the players are bad. I just mean, as we've always said, that Tzeentch's principle is they cheat.
But it wasn't mechanic. Bad. Like the very next book, which came out a month later, had Vanguard Wing in it.
Well, we're getting there. Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah.
We're getting there. Okay. So this Tzeentch book comes out and hits like a meteor.
Yep.
And just Tzeentch armies become very potent. So the Tzeentch armies especially that were around at that time, your Lords of Change, your Zangor, Skyfires, brutal stuff. Skyfires were cheap as chips. Mortal wound shooting at extreme range with extreme mobility on 5s and 6s. Everything we currently hate was there.
Yep.
Then we get our Stormcast Battle Tome with truly, no offense to the artist, but their worst cover art. Awful.
Yep.
And yes, that drops Vanguard Wing. Liberator spam. Yeah, it was like 30, 60 Liberators.
But that didn't happen. That didn't happen that year.
No,
like that literally took an entire year for Vanguard Wing to spin up.
I agree. We'll talk about why. And this is you're getting at something I want to hit on, Tom. You actually just nailed the exact point I want to make. Okay? It's fine.
Is it my fault?
No. Not at all.
Okay.
No, it's just something I've noticed. As I was thinking through this and thinking about the evolution of the meta, something occurred to me. Okay?
Well, the reason why I bring that up is because I was banging on the Vanguard Wing drum like long before it actually like hit the bat.
Sure. Well, same with Plague Touched. You and a few other people around the world were very much on Plague Touched back in the time when there weren't that many people running Plague Touched.
Right.
At any rate, you weren't the only progenitor of that. There were others who were also there, but yes, you were amongst that cadre. Kharadron Overlord book comes out. We get more alpha drop shooting, right? Because that's where we get the taste of what it means to go all in, everything in a boat, drop hard, drop fast, shoot everything, kill. Okay.
Yep.
In our what's the name of the skyport that did this?
Zilfin.
Thank you, Zilfin. I couldn't think of its name. Yeah, so we had the Zilfin Alpha Strike, right?
Yep. And you had Bloodletter, like the Bloodletter Alpha as well at that same time, where they would push forward 120 Bloodletters.
Yep.
And wipe you off all of your objectives at the top of one or whatever. And then burn all your stuff. So there are like scenarios that you couldn't even win.
Mm-hmm. So Jonathan said, were Gore Pilgrims the big thing in 1.0 Corn getting across the board first turn, burning all the objectives? Yes, that was a big list. You're like, when bonuses were all cumulative, running a ton of Bloodletters. The only time in AOS Bloodletters have ever been at all something people cared about. I think it was pre this book, actually. But they would, yes, you could take a bunch of Bloodletters, soup them up so they could charge first turn, and just burn all the objectives on certain things, right? So, Okay. Then 2018 comes, and 2018 not only brings AOS 2 eventually, but we get Legions, Daughters, Idneth. 3 armies that would be very impactful on the meta in a big way. Legions through the skeleton spam, especially pre... the changes to sort of the way coherency works as we thought about it then.
Yep.
When you could just have big blocks of skeletons everywhere and just remove things from the middle and replace them and just march all the way across the board. Daughters with unbelievable melee power, and then Idneth, who would just high tide YOLO on 3, right? Basically their same strat they've been doing. This is still their current book, by the way, obviously. So it was the strat, it's been the strat. Okay. And then we get AOS 2 launch.
Yep.
Now, in my mind, in 2018, what we saw was not much happening. Like, the meta, as it was in 2018, had a couple lists that were very strong. Okay.
Yep.
But a lot of the like hard offenders that had been previously there, Kurnoths have been nerfed by this time. Skyfires are nerfed by this time as we get deep into there, right? Mm-hmm. And what we start to see emerge is the beginnings of the melee swamp meta. Daughters are going to be the first thing that herald the coming of this new meta.
Yep.
Because they, unlike any other book that had come before them, brought synergistic power in a way that they could spin a unit up and make it do damage like nothing else had ever done in the game.
Sure.
Okay. Yep. And they were really the first herald of what would become the meta. Right?
Yeah.
Post AOS 2 launch, Doc is sitting at like a 60 to 70% win rate, depending on the exact time you're talking about.
Yep. Like from the Doc release book up until the Flesh Eater Court Skaven meta, that's when Doc was sitting at that like 60 or like 70 plus.
So let's push into the end, like the end of 2018. I think we all forget how empty it was. We got the 2 launch tomes, and then we got Beasts.
Then nothing.
It felt very much like our current year, only there was no COVID.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
3 books.
Yep.
The Beast book was underwhelming, didn't really impact the meta much. The Night Haunt would turn out to be underwhelming. You know, Stormcast at the beginning did have an extremely high play percentage, and a lot of the new units that came here in the second edition would be seen a lot at the start, though they would quickly get eclipsed. As once 2019 began, then we officially launch the nonsense. So, between the launch of Flesh Eater Courts and Hedonites of Slaanesh, we get a grotesque period of Flesh Eater Courts' hyper-powerful melee army. Fyreslayers, very powerful melee army in its new incarnation. Not as much as everything else and still hard to play and unpopular aesthetic, but very powerful melee army. Slaanesh, extremely powerful melee army.
Yep.
And shooting at this point in time is effectively non-existent.
Sure.
Now, when Skaven comes out, they're way too cheap. They explode in the meta. Their win rate shoots through the roof. Everybody cries foul, says they're overpriced, they're undercosted, right?
Yep.
Hyper efficient. And they crank all the points on Skaven over every single FAQ/update that would happen every 6 months for the next year and a half. Skaven's points would all go up with almost nothing going down. Okay. So Skaven enters, gets about 3 to 6 months of really scary effectiveness, and then
Yep.
Right. But once Flesh Eaters hits, that period between Flesh Eaters and Hedonites is when the melee meta calcifies.
Yeah.
Because there is no real strong shooting to speak of to stop these things. Nothing that can pick away the power pieces that are there in those armies that they're relying on.
Not cities. Yeah.
And, well, even cities wasn't enough, right? Like, yeah, cities had some shooting, but it didn't change the meta. Okay. None of these things stop. They go on a rampage for the rest of 2019, with Slaanesh and Flesh Eaters just dominating. Now, sneakily, by the way, Doc is still doing really well, because it is the same thing.
Right. It's the same tactic.
Right. You have the activation wars begin. Right? It's the only part Doc doesn't play in. But they have the same strategy. Get in there, do a ton of damage in melee.
Yep.
So 2019 brings us this melee powerhouse of no shooting and the activation wars. The age of double piling in Fyreslayers. Fight last Slaanesh. Double piling in, fight on death, Flesh Eater Courts. Fight first, double piling in, fight on death.
Yeah, Fyreslayers were strike first, double piling in. Yeah.
Right. So you get this whole spread, right, where these things just have no natural predators in the meta.
Yep.
Right. The Sylvaneth book, does not stop any of that from happening. Everybody loves the cities in the Auric War Clans book, and certainly they're impactful. But I honestly think it wasn't until Ossiarch that you started to see this turn. Because when the Ossiarch Bone Reapers came out, what they could produce was, by this time, two things happened. One, Slaanesh and Flesh Eater start getting somewhat nerfed in points or whatever. And Bone Reapers could generate ultra high armor, which had always been one of Slaanesh's weak spots. They couldn't. Nope. Slaanesh actually has no rend. You'd think the army of a bunch of claws would have rend, but they couldn't. Their rend is terrible. And they have very little mortal wounds to speak of, so they can't crack armor. They were relying on the fact that it was a relatively soft meta. Bone Reapers come out, Ogres come out. Yeah, you see some monster truck lists around, certainly as the combined Ogres happens, but it is what it is. Then dawns the age of Petrifex Elite, where suddenly OBR is 12% of the meta, and 99.8% of those tournament reporting lists are Petrifex Elite. Because it was the perfect answer to what was there. Right?
Yeah.
And then we get into more recent history, which obviously now, as we moved from 2019 into 2020, we started to see the birth of the ranged meta, and all those old melee things from 2019 fall away as their true natural predators entered the scene. Not Slaves to Darkness, but Tzeentch undercosted incredible ranged power when it first hit, right? Just unbelievable power. It actually served as a really interesting counter to Bone Reapers almost out of the gate and just put them down hard. But, I was at CanCon 2020 and I watched what Tzeentch could do when they first launched, and it was grotesquerie. Right? You had KO launch the same time. Their new book, fairly underwhelming, especially in contrast to Tzeentch, but it is still a shooting army.
Yeah, shooting mobility, still good.
Right. Seraphon, bring a ton of different ranged power into the meta, as well as mobility, as well as just tricks. Right? So further stopping all of our previous melee hunters. And then Lumineth and Sentinels have entered the arena, and now we've just sealed it. Right? 4 books back to back that all introduced extremely powerful ranged/control power projection mechanics in some way or another. It's not all just shooting, right?
And 3 of the 4 were strong magic as well.
Yes. Power projection, right? Yeah. Broadly construed.
This was the age of the magic doms.
Right. Now you have the combination of all the melee armies have been nerfed for the past year. All their points have been jacked up because they were swimming in a sea where they had no natural predators. Right? So they all got pushed way up, and then in comes their often underpriced natural predators, who made them easy pickings.
Yep.
So this combination of things just killed the old meta. Like, the 2019 meta died so fast, so hard, looking back, where just, it felt like overnight, everything was different.
Yep.
Right? And I mean, well, I suppose in 2020 that truly did happen for a lot of the world. Then we enter sort of the lockdown period. We get, the second Heat Knights book is terrible. The new Doc book is great. Sons of Behemoth comes out and introduces the DPS checks, right? And that kind of is bringing us into our current meta. A lot of these things from 2020, honestly, are still around.
And you had 2 strong shooting books, 2 more. You had another Doc book, and you had a Lumineth update, which was the Wind Mage folks were predominantly shooting, right?
Right.
That was Helon and all that stuff.
Yeah, and it brought in your ability to do Fox Force 5 and stuff like that. Yes.
Yep. Interestingly, the other thing that you haven't taken into account here are the Broken Realm stuff.
Sure. Yeah, I'm just talking main battle tomes.
No, and I understand that. But like Legion of the First Prince enters.
Mm-hmm.
They're right in between Soul Blight and the other stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like right in the middle of that. And then you also have the entrance of...
we should state, not their original introduction. Obviously, Loka had come out before that. But yes, the Legion of the First Prince. Yes.
Yeah. Well, with the new Be'lakor.
Yeah. New Be'lakor.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's interesting that, and then obviously Stormcast continued in strong. but it seems like we're going through a shift, right?
It's interesting now because yes, so for a long time the meta has remained pretty stagnant.
Right.
When you look at sort of who were the big six, who were the Sinister Six, a lot of them had these 2020 tomes. It was like Tzeentch was in there, Seraphon was in there, Lumineth, Sons, Daughters, right?
Yeah.
And I should state that Daughters' win rate never fell really below 60%. They've always been at the sort of top of the pile. I think right now they're in, everything as we have brought in from the fat middle, inching closer to an actual middle balanced area. So it's good. Like we have reined in the excesses, which is good. But Daughters has always found themselves at the top of the pile in every incarnation and throughout all changes. They've had the resiliency to do it. Right.
Well, and they got updated fast enough too, because they stayed on the top of the meta, and then right when things were starting to drift down, they got updated with better costed bow snakes, and it ramped them right back. Yep. Because remember, bow snakes used to be terrible, folks.
Yeah, of course.
They were 5 shots for 140 points.
They were the only unit you in the book that you basically never saw on the table. Right?
Ever, right.
So Doc has always maintained some presence. But
right.
What's interesting to me is how much the meta locked in a way that, like, we're now in 2022, by the way. We all know that, right? That is the current year. Right? And yes, we are starting to see some change. And I think that it's interesting because if you look at those lists, what we now see is this incredible combination of just ultra-powered offense and ranged mortal wound shooting. People who can project extreme power have sort of entered the top of the list now, right? That has become the Sinister Six.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And so new Stormcast, either through long strikes, dragons, or just fulminators who don't do mortal wounds and like play Warhammer very fairly. Okay, fulminators hit like a Mack truck, but they're still playing Warhammer. They don't move out of sequence. They don't fight out of sequence. They just move, charge, and then hit real hard. Right? They're just playing Warhammer. They just happen to do it in an extremely scary fashion. Right?
And very points of vision fashion. Correct.
Yeah. No disagreement. They're probably too cheap.
Witch elves.
Yeah. Yeah, they're just new witch elves.
Right.
Right? That's it.
Yep.
But you only have to move 2 or 4 models instead of 30. It's a lot easier.
True.
So the interesting part to me is that we're finally seeing a shift after 2 years. We had this very fast changing meta throughout 2018, 2019. Things were really moving.
Yeah.
And then 2020, now again, a lot of this is COVID time, so, whatever. It's been a weird time, right? But it definitely felt more solid throughout. Mm-hmm. And only now do we see this new meta of, like, you have to be this tall to get on this ride. And this tall is, in almost all cases, extreme damage.
Yeah.
Extreme offense through power projection. Like, Suns have been falling like a rock. Why? Because they're just a DPS check that wants to stand there. Everybody can pass that DPS check. Okay? Like I shouldn't say everybody, because there's a lot of armies that can't.
The Sinister
Six that are still operating at the top can pass that DPS check without breaking a sweat. They'll kill a giant. They'll kill 2 giants around if you let them.
Right.
So that's the world we currently find ourselves in. Right. And it's an interesting turn of events to this extreme offense play, because it feels like whenever you have a sort of dominant play style, then you have a counter style, which, by the way, is the Phoenicium list.
How so?
Because the Phoenicium list, if you look at that Phoenicium list,
it punishes them for killing people.
Not only does it do that, yes. Like, they had all the assassins, all the bonus assassins to pop out, maybe attack, who cares, but their point was to get slaughtered, to turn on all the bonuses for the army. Nothing in the Phoenicium list is ultra high damage. Not that Phoenix Guard can't do some damage when they get fully buffed and they're on like
they're really good,
rerolling. But they're not the level of damage we're talking about out of this other stuff.
Right.
They're just not. Okay?
Right.
They're good damage, not exceptional.
Right. Right.
But what they are is tough as a coffin nail.
Right.
With ward saves for days on the whole army.
Yep.
And so they turn all of the strengths of this mortal wound power projection into just like, who cares? Who cares? Because I'll just cut everything you do in half. And you just can't kill me fast enough.
Right. Right.
Now, again, they didn't take it all the way. Right? They did end up losing. But that list went real far. It reminds me of sort of it's an almost anti-affinity play, to make a Magic reference. In the time when affinity became dominant, your only lists were 80% affinity and 20% anti-affinity. Things that were meant to destroy artifacts and take them apart. And that's what the Phoenicium list feels like in the current meta. Okay? Yep. All right. So that's the world. Now, here's the other point I want to make, Tom, real quick. You hit on it. I'm going to bring up this little chart. This is a very simple little chart. Okay? This is I want to evaluate meta-dominating strats. I just started this because this is... I didn't want to really fill this all out. I just wanted to make a point, and then I'll probably do a whole show about this in the future. You mentioned that it took basically a year for Vanguard Wing to catch on.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
So here is my 4-quadrant power versus the complexity of achieving that power chart.
Okay. Yep.
And if you look at this, what I am pointing out here is that Vanguard Wing took forever to catch on and got very rarely played, even at the height of its power, when it was just like it was so abusively strong. It was the most broken, stupid thing ever. It was awful. Awful. And if you defended it at the time, you should feel bad. But it was so complicated and so ridiculous that you basically never saw it.
Right.
And as we went down into 2019, what's interesting is the complexity on achieving that power falls like a rock. Because the Flesh Eater Court's power just was like nothing. It took no offense to anybody who ran it. But you could achieve...
You pushed it forward and just first strike double pilot it.
Yeah.
With rerollable 6 mortal wound bites. Yeah.
Yes. You could just push forward and murder. Yeah, given if somebody was super highly skilled, of course they would beat you. No army's 100% win in AOS, right?
Right.
But, it just magnified. Like, against equal or lower skill, you just steamrolled people. Just steamroll them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like dragons right now.
Right. Yes. The dragons are swing them forward and... is it going to take the top of every tournament? No,
but against equal, it's going to burn. Yeah, you just push forward, hit your fire breath button a couple times, and then charge.
Yeah, Flesh Eater Courts didn't win every tournament. It was still an awful strat at its height. Slaanesh didn't win every tournament. It was an awful thing at its height. Okay.
Yeah.
So the complexity versus power is an interesting thing to me. Because there's sort of 4 quadrants. And this top left is your worst quadrant. High complexity, sort of low power, right? Where you have to work really hard to get nothing. This is probably where current Slaanesh finds itself, right?
Gets is there too.
Yeah. Gets is probably up there too, yeah, exactly. So I just thought this was an interesting way to think about it. As I was sort of having shower thoughts, this is what occurred to me. That not all power strats are equal in complexity rating of what it takes to achieve them.
Yep.
Right? The sort of skill floor.
Yep.
So, anyways. All right. Now, with all that being said, let's go back and talk roadmap. Okay? So we got a roadmap announced. All right. Okay, Tom. The roadmap.
I'm glad I got that beer. Maybe I'll need to go get another one.
Sure. can we call the top left the Gits quadrant? We absolutely can. Let's talk about that roadmap, folks. So we got four new books announced. Okay? With 2 more announced but not defined. Okay.
Sure.
We're going to go Death and Fireslayers, Nighthaunt, Daughters of Cain, Mystery Order, Mystery Chaos.
Yep.
We're going to get into it. Because I know what those 2 are. I mean, I don't know. I don't know anything, but I know. I have a guess. I've got the tinfoil hat tuned in here today, folks. Let me tell you what.
Okay. I'm excited.
Okay. Absolutely.
I'm curious to see if your guess is going to be my guess.
We'll see. Let's talk about Idneth and Fireslayers first. This is the one, obviously, we knew this was coming. Now, there were a lot of people holding out hope. Hold on for one more day. People are holding out hope that we were going to get a combined dwarf book. Okay? Now, is the Fireslayers art the same art, Tom?
Yeah.
Okay. There are people who are holding out hope still that because the Fireslayers art that they used here in this image is a repeat art piece, that in fact that means that they're secretly not a Fireslayers book, but that KO is going to be in here.
No.
Okay. This is now a conspiracy theory. Have you ever watched H. Bomber Guy's Sherlock, the mystery 4th Sherlock episode? No. It's a great thing. No. It's about the conspiracy theory around 4-4, the 4th episode of Sherlock season 4. It doesn't exist. But that people were sure existed. Because they whatever. It's insanity.
Sure.
The point is, no, it's Fireslayers. They said it right there. There's the word. Look, you can see it. Okay.
Yep.
It's just Fireslayers.
Hey, did you know that I got a leak that I actually got my hands on a collector's edition for the new Nighthaunt book?
Oh, there you go. We'll get there, Tom. We'll get there. Yes. Because it's also the same art. I get it. All right, let's talk IDK, Tom. I think this is the one probably neither of us are super invested in. Good response. What do you hope to see out of this tome? What do you want this tome to be?
Anti-shooting, anti-line of sight stuff.
Okay. You want them to keep the sort of shooting gatekeeper nature that they have of being hard to bring down in that element.
I want to make sure that that applies to Magic as well, and it applies to Sentinels, and it is a high model count army. It won't be, but I wish that it was.
Okay.
So that like those types of army lists couldn't actually punch through the lines before they engaged in melee.
Yeah, I think my number one thing I want to see, we've already seen part of it, Namarti going to 2-inch reach. Right?
Sure.
So already mission accomplished, unfurl the banner. So that's great. My hope is that we finally achieve the sort of combined arms, creatures of the sea dream that we've all wanted here. Let's talk a few specifics real quick, Tom. Let's do a little lightning round on Idneth Deepkin. You ready?
Sure.
Should they keep their rituals? You know that mechanic they have where you kind of roll dice and there's some weird bonuses?
No.
Correct.
No. Just give them priests.
Correct. Absolutely right. Just one of those guys is a priest. He has prayers. Stop it. Jettison that mechanic into the sun. I don't know who wrote that originally, but it was not your finest hour. I'm sorry.
So that was an example, by the way, of what OBR became later.
Sure.
What that is that was a failed system that they wrote to test something in the future that did not work.
Yeah.
Where OBR's like RDP became the new command point system. That was probably the new prayer system. They went, nah, maybe not.
This is ridiculous because what your bonus is at any given point, you just roll and hope you get a 10, and then if you do, or a 9 or something close, and if you do, you go look and see if maybe you accidentally got the bonus. right?
Right. Right.
So please jettison that into the sea. Next question. Should they keep, maybe not the exact rules, the rules could change, but should they keep the tides mechanic?
No.
So rules go in, rules go out. Should they keep that?
I think it was asked before. I still think it is. If they want to, that's fine.
I think this is a thing they should keep and just change some of the rules around. That's the simple answer. Just have it do different things. I like the tides mechanic. It's a cool idea, and it suits the army well.
It's fine.
They just need to also design it with the understanding that whatever's happening in 4 and 5 kind of doesn't super matter.
Right.
So.
Right. Most of the game is over by then. Yep.
Right. So maybe understand that's the case in the writing of the tides. But yeah, I say go Prince of Tides. Let's do this. Okay.
Well, with the doc book releasing at the same time, it has almost an identical mechanic.
Sure. Well, Docs is completely building. INETs is not. It's turn on, turn off, turn on, turn off, right?
Indeed.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. I want to see the mixed arms. I want to see them jettison the rituals, keep that, have a formal priest. And it's not a terrible army right now. It's not in a super bad place. I don't think there's a huge delta to cover here.
Sure.
Do
you want them to get endless spells?
No, I mean, they're not going to, so it doesn't matter whether I want it or not. They're not getting endless spells. So it doesn't... What are we talking about? Like...
You don't think they will?
No. I don't think during the pandemic they were looking to try to outsource more stuff to China.
That's fair.
That's it. Like, I don't think any of these people are going to have endless spells because endless spells are made by the scenery department and all that stuff comes from China. And the shipping and cost structure on that just shot through the roof. Through the roof. So whereas before endless spells were probably quite a profit center for them, overnight they became potentially a loss leader. Or not even that, just a straight loss. And they don't want to. Why mess with that? There's no way they want to rely on that.
Interesting.
Okay. I agree with Hardy. Tides is thematic. Rituals were not. Keep the tides. There you go. Yep. All right. Yeah, they get their hero. That's the end of it. Fire Slayers. They also get their hero. And that's the end of it. We're not there's no other secret units.
No. And like, I just, like the thought I had today, I shared in our chat, is that like, maybe Magmadroths are good in this edition.
Sure.
So like, here's the late great hope of Fire Slayers.
Okay, go for it.
Maybe Magmadroths are playable, or like are super monster stomping. If that's the case, there might be some interesting, fun, potent Fire Slayer lists. But we have all of the base units, folks. All the war scrolls for every single non-hero unit of Fire Slayers is out there already.
So that was going to be my first question, which is, do you think that the rules that were printed in the box set are in fact the final rules that will be in the book?
Yes.
Understanding that the box set rules would have been printed 6 months before the book was finalized.
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
The only thing that might change is points.
Sure.
I could see points having moved around. And you know what?
They would have had to lock that pre most of the playtesting.
Right.
For the box.
Right.
Because the box has to be done so far in advance.
Yes. But the points on some of those like Volkite units are just unmanageable.
Sure.
And especially like, and I could go into this, but not only did every scroll get worse, like Volkites have less melee punching power, like the pick shield Volkites, than Plague Bearers do.
Sure.
Like that's math. And so it's just like it's a real problem for that army at this point. You get better, like here's pound for pound, Castigators are better shooters than the Auric shooters in the new Fire Slayer book.
Sure.
Castigators.
I understand. I get it. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's you look at sort of the boxes versus this. I do think you could still see some changes just because of how these things are locked in. Sometimes things do change. Sometimes it's just points. I mean, we saw the Dominion to Stormcast and Cruel Boys points changes, right? So sometimes that does happen. I think you could see minor rules tweaks too, I might add, by the way. I agree with you. You're probably not going to see a completely different scroll. But,
Right.
I mean, they clearly changed the Nurgle rules at the last moment. As you could tell from the Noxious Nexus not getting caught. That it worked as per the old disease rules, right? So, in my mind, I'm not writing off Fire Slayers yet. I tend to agree with Dan, who said, Plague Bearers don't have a 5-up on their scroll. If you just looked at a Plague Bearer scroll, you'd be like, what is this? This is terrible. If you take Plague Bearers into account with their allegiance ability and everything else that they have, they're an incredibly good unit. So it could be that the allegiance ability / other stuff is adding a lot here. I don't know. I'm not ready to write him off. I mean, ultimately, to me, the train that we need to be on here that I didn't see in the cards in the box is that they still haven't really established the 3 roles that they should for these 3 units. Again, the fact that they have the number of units they have means nothing. You could make a compelling book out of 3 base units.
Well, they have 4 basic units now because they split the Fire Slayers into 2 different scrolls. So, like the dual wielders for the Volkite
sure.
are now a different scroll than the pick or the axe shield, which
I get it. I'm still calling that 3 units. My point is, you could get too interesting with 3 units. Ironjaws has done it for 4 years. 5 years, 6 years, I don't even know. Forever. Since the first time they got a battle tome.
Yep.
Right? And even before then, they were doing it in the General's Handbook.
Yep.
Right? So it can be done. We just have never done it with Fire Slayers. And I don't know why.
Well, I mean, what they would say is that, like, Volkites are the bodies, Oryx are the shooters, Hearthguard Berserkers are your elite infantry. But that's
not
still...
roles. That's not roles.
Right.
Roles are hammer, anvil, mobility, right? Things that serve a role, a purpose in the game. Elite infantry means nothing. That's nothing. That's nothing. Right? And that's not me yelling at you. That's me just...
No, they would say that like they are the hammers, is what I would say.
Yeah.
They're the hammers and Volkites are the anvils, but
that's not the case. Obviously, Hearthguard have always been hammer and anvil and the only thing useful. So, there you go.
Still the case.
Yeah. I mean, so if it could be done, like, you could have Volkites be like a swamp anvil, right? Where they make a ton of it, like, they make a ton of low rend attacks, they have a lot of wounds, they can just absorb damage in some way, right? You could make Hearthguard. I understand that. I'm saying you could. I'm just going to sketch out 3 imaginary things, right?
Sure.
You could, and you could have them be slow. You could have Hearthguard somehow be quite quick and be a strong hammer, right? And pull off their ward saves or something like that and just make them like a super strong, relatively quick by the standards of the army hammer. And by the way, how do you make them fast when they're still little dwarves? I don't know, because they have the fire of Grimnir.
Yeah.
So they have special runes they burn that let them move 3 times their normal speed once a game in the hero phase or something. Who cares? I could write 50 rules that make them fast.
It's called the speed of flame.
Sure. Whatever, man. Right? My point is, it's not hard. Right?
Yeah.
You could just make crap up. And then the shooters would be your ranged power projection glass cannon unit. Easy. Like, you don't want to get into them, blah, blah, blah. Right?
Yep.
It's fine. Like, you could do this. Yeah, thank you. Noop said Hearthguard are natural sprinters. Exactly. Good over short distances. So, yeah, or you could give them crazy charge bonuses. Sure, absolutely. Plus 4 to charge. Something nuts.
Sure.
Whatever. It's fine. The point is there's answers, but they haven't seemed willing to go down that road. Now, maybe they will. Who knows? But as long as they keep making basically Volkites just worse versions of Hearthguard, it's not going to happen. So,
right.
All right. Anything else? Anything else we want to say about Idneth / Fire Slayers? These are our first 2 up, by the way. These are coming soon.
Feel bad for any stores that bought lots of those boxes.
I mean, who would do that?
Yeah, like it's like Rob had named this the FOMO box. There's no FOMO. These are sitting on shelves right now.
All right.
If you want, go get them.
Now let's talk about the one that I cannot believe they just didn't announce this with the LVO thing. Why did you show us the box and not just also say,
well,
and here's a battle tome?
They said that they're going to do a week's worth of announcement associated with LVO, but the only announcement they did were the books.
I guess. Okay. Excuse me. Sorry, everybody. All right. So Nighthaunt and Daughters of Cain. Let's start with the Ghost, Tom.
Yeah.
We're excited about Crossbows.
Yeah.
We've got some new hero. See what he shapes up as. Could be something interesting. You never know.
Yep.
So, Tom, you're a big Nighthaunt fan. You're building your Nighthaunt army right now. What do you want, Tom, out of this book? What do you expect it to be? What are you hoping for? What do you think? Let me ask the first question. Are there any other units, or have we seen all the units? Is this it? One hero and the Crossbows?
I think we've seen all the units. I don't think that we have any more.
Agreed.
The only possibility would be Crossbows having a separate build. Like these being the mono pose, and then there's like a multi-part build potentially in the independent box. That's a possibility. More likely, these will be like a 5 models for $45 box.
Sure.
Like they like to do. And most of Nighthaunt is push fit anyways. So it wouldn't surprise me if they went with that with these guys. What do I want? I want the army to be.
Army. A lot of people love this army. It's very popular.
I want the army to be more reliable. Less slot machine-ish.
Okay, so you want to get rid of the slot machine. So let's get into deets on that, Tom. Should Nighthaunt keep their 10-up fight in the charge phase?
No.
Okay. Are we just not replacing that with anything and just kind of buffing everything accordingly?
Well, I mean, so there's a couple of different ways you can go with this. One, that is where all of their like that ability is all of their allegiance abilities. Like that is the heart of their allegiance ability. It's that and the mobility deep striking thing. That's it. Like that's meaningful. And so it can be replaced by something that's more reliable. So maybe instead of something that triggers on a 10 plus to charge, it could just simply be on a charge.
But not fight, but you're saying like on a charge, some bonus happens. Yes.
Yeah, on a charge or some debuff or something happens. Sure. Something that's more reliable, which would be really interesting with some of the units if they kept them as they are, like Blade Geists and even the bad Glaive Wraiths have a retreat and charge built into the War Scrolls. So that could be a really interesting combination. Glaive Wraiths have to be feasible. Like that is one scroll. Like I have 30 of them, and most of them have never been built.
Sure.
Like the horse-headed models are just the worst.
Okay.
So they need to be fixed. Sub-factions are coming. Obviously, we know that we have Emerald Host. We know that we have Reichnort Condemned. It would only make sense if the third one is associated with what's his face, the third named hero,
the Craven King.
The Craven King, because the shooters are like the Craven King's guard or whatever they're called.
Sure. Yeah.
So it would make sense if the third faction is Craven King associated, and it's probably a shooter faction or something along those lines.
Okay, let's get into some deets. Here we go. Ready? Yep. Question the first: should this in a world where Battle Shock can matter now, like it's possible?
Yep.
should this army exploit battle shock in some way? Make people run more, screw around with bravery, anything like that?
Hypothetically, it has supposed to already have done that.
Sure, but it's always been bad at it.
Yeah, it's always been bad at it. I mean, that said, I had Olander almost like force, like I was fighting a 10-man Vindicator unit, and he got down to 3, and he's like, oh, I'll just roll Battle Shock, it'll be fine. And then, like, it was rolled the 5, 2 were going to flee, Olander forced a 3rd to go. Like, there goes the rest of the unit. So they have some of that now. But I mean, something would have to really change.
Well, I mean, we live in a world where they could have a pseudo hero or pseudo monster action. Maybe some of their units have an almost like quasi monster action or something that could turn off battle shock, right? That is to say, turn off inspiring presence or stop the ability to issue or receive commands. We saw some of that sprinkled around Nurgle, so we could see the same thing here.
True, it's true. And this would be where to do it. I mean, historically, they had a battalion that shut off inspiring presence.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a possibility.
Should that be played up as a major theme of the army is more what I'm asking.
It would they're spooky. It would make sense to have them be spooky and make people run away. I would...
I find it comical, by the by, that ghosts are scary in any way in this world. I know they're supposed to be spoopy, but really? Ghosts? Like, ghosts are scary to me? I don't find ghosts scary. I wouldn't find ghosts scary if I lived in the mortal realms. Have you seen what else is around? These guys? This is what I'm supposed to be afraid of? You're half not even there. Did you see over there what's going on the Chaos Wastes? That's
Did you see that
scary.
Cursor? Yeah.
Like, these guys are just going to kill me.
Yeah.
What's waiting over there is far worse. That stuff is terrifying. Stare into the mind of Tzeentch and whatever's going on in that ludicrous zone over there, and you tell me I'm supposed to be afraid of this? Get out of here. Ghosts as a source of fear has always been comical to me. Why is a bloodthirster or anybody in Chaos afraid of a ghost? What are you going to do to me? What do you got, Ghost Boy? Nothing.
But that's what's supposed to be, right? Like, that's what they're supposed to be.
I understand. I'm just saying it's funny.
Yep. In general, the army has, like, universally lacked rend. Like, there's just no rend.
Yeah.
They're supposed to rely on, like, melee mortal wounds, and those have always just been, like, very spotty. Like, just very unreliable. And so I think that they need to have more reliable, like, damage output in this meta. Now, I think that they present an interesting defensive, like, against the hyper offense, right? Their unrendable ghost selves will help. But they need better ward saves in order to make that a reality.
Okay. Next question. The Black Coach. What are we doing with the Black Coach, Tom? Is it a hero?
I think he's by default a hero because he has a Cairn Wraith, and Cairn Wraith is a hero. So I think it has to be a hero from the get-go. Yeah. Okay. I would make it a hero and basically change nothing else.
Fair enough. Anything else you want to see out of the Nighthaunt book, Tom? I mean, you think it's good enough right now, you're running it. Not that there's not challenges. Yeah. We would like to see some better internal balance.
Right.
I think that's definitely true. We saw a Nighthaunt player hit the top 8 with Nagash. Obviously, Nagash just powered up that faction to some degree. And he's going to be tired from carrying it on his shoulders if we don't see some action in this book. But do we want to see the bubbleness go away? Like, be a lot looser on the bubbles?
Like, the Holy Within 12 just has to go. Because it's so difficult, especially like that combined with the charge phase pile-in is a problem. And like all the buffs are like phase dependent, so like the bonus attack is like that phase, that combat phase, and the like. I don't know. I just bubbles need to go. Yeah. Yeah.
I would say my way for
um,
getting rid of the bubbles, by the way, don't make them
Okay.
bigger. Just get rid of them.
Right.
Build a little more power into the units,
Yep.
and then just make it abilities that they put on the unit for a given duration of time. Like, just that thing happens. Now you're like that for this amount of time, whatever it is. It could be a single phase to counteract that, right? But then let the unit go. Have less of that in there. Just buff up the unit some and simplify the interactions. Where I just go boop boop. Ghosty hero says ghosties go better. Okay, ghosties go better now.
And honestly, I would love if there was a built-in way to bump up your aftersave that's not the
Cruciator, yeah.
Cruciator. Because like that's just more bookkeeping.
Sure.
That's more conditional bookkeeping. Like if I could get a base 5 up in the army, like it would make it really interesting because again, this becomes a real anvil. Like this becomes a real army that can stop all the hyperpower.
Sure. I mean, they have to be careful with that because they set the watermark for the tough army when they released Nurgle and gave them the entire army a 5-up ward.
Right.
That's the challenge. If you give an entire army a 5-up ward and they're ethereal, you run into a problem because then you've got to hyper cost all their units.
Sure.
Right. And they're not they're not a horde army anymore.
Well, they're not. Yeah, that's fine.
Sure. I mean, yes, I understand. You were going to argue like they're not as much now, but it's certainly, at least conceptually, you're meant to have packs of stuff.
Right, but I mean, one of the challenges is you don't have enough reinforcement points to do what you used to do.
Right.
Like that's a real problem. Like your chain gas come in units of 2.
Yeah.
You know, your glaive wraith, your great glaive wraith stalkers come in units of 4. Your Miramore Manji come in units of 4.
Yep.
Like it's already like it as an army, it is hit by the reinforcement point problem that we've highlighted on a number of occasions.
Absolutely. I mean, it continues to be a problem for armies that have these small size units that just don't do enough on their own and want to be at slightly double strength, right? And then also, by the by, need to be bumping up their battle line to make it anything. Believe me, as a Skaven player, I understand. Right.
Yep.
Artorius Rex said, "Should Nighthaunt be a horde army?" I don't know. I mean, the Chain Rasps certainly speak to it. Their main battle line says that they want to have at least some packs of ghosts.
It is in the name. We call them Chain Rasps, but the War Scroll is Chain Rasp
Horde.
Horde.
Yeah, sure. So, you know, it's a question of I think that they want it to be on the higher model count side of things. But then that becomes very challenging if you make them too defensive. So it's always a tough line to walk. But sure, getting rid of the bubbles would go a long way. If you just had easier ways to keep them in whatever their basic buffs are, it'd be a lot better.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, let's talk about Order Battle Tome number 3 out of 4 so far. Daughters of Cain, Tom. Daughters of Cain. Daughters of Cain got their book last year. Okay.
Why, hello.
And now they get another one. Eat your heart out, Gits and Beasts of Chaos players. Take that. Enjoy your late 2018, early 2019 books.
Maybe Kraith will be good this time.
All right, so let's ask the most important question.
Yeah.
Why does this exist? Like, why? Hamza says this doc artwork is so much worse than the previous books. Oh, brother. Strong disagree on that one. This is where it's at. This is my favorite artwork from any cover so far. This almost justifies the book for me. Just Marathi striding forward. Just... She's doing this as she walks down the stairs. Like, that's what she's doing. Like, what's up?
She's doing the Selma Hayek walk with the snake and
yeah, totally from Dusk Till Dawn, as her girls just murder everything in sight. It's great, just stabbing people to death, and it's fantastic. Okay, now that aside, but hey, aesthetics are all personal, so I get it. I'm just saying I didn't mention it, but this cover I truly love.
Do you want my joke answer or my real answer?
Sure, both. Go for it. Whatever.
My joke answer is Chuck Moore.
Sure. Okay.
Chuck's doing his work on the playtest team. No, I'm kidding. No, I think this book exists because of a multi-part problem.
Okay, I'm ready.
And that is, we have moved into a new world of I lost my train of thought. We've moved into what I would say is no. So we've moved into a new world of how command abilities function.
Sure.
Right, like with the new edition.
Yeah.
And of the armies, this, if I were to look at a list, this army has one of the most egregious command abilities.
Yes. In Marathi's command ability, sure.
And in Marathi's command ability.
Mm-hmm.
And as well, there are other, heroes that have command abilities require you to be the general.
Well, I mean, not really. I mean, not as much that you care about. It's not... This army doesn't really utilize its command abilities other than... It plays in the normal command ability space other than Marathi's. Here's my point. There's no reason for this book to exist. I'm just going to lay the straight story. This book should not exist. That's it, man. End of discussion. This is nonsense. It's just straight nonsense. I'm going to say what we all want to say.
This is exactly what happened with Slash.
You better hope not. If you're a Doc player, you better hope not. Okay, that would be a horrible world to live in. I mean, Khorne went through the same thing. They haven't, and then it was silence for years. Like they had, they had like several back-to-back.
They had 4 reiterations in 3 years or something. Yes.
Yeah. Now, given that was again Wild West time and so on and so forth, Khorne has certainly is out of date by quite a ways now, and they could use a tome.
Yep.
But when you look at this daughter's book, I don't know how you justify this. There's one hero coming with this book, so it's not model based. It's not like Lumineth Part 2.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Yes, the command ability on Marathi is busted and shouldn't exist. Agreed.
Yep.
That's an FAQ. You just literally did an FAQ called Gods and Heroes or some nonsense like that, or Gods and Monsters or whatever they called it. We could have just thrown Marathi on that pile with Archeon, Nagash, and whoever else we threw in there. Kragnos, duh. Okay.
Yep.
And fixed her. Like, Doc is... this goes one of two ways, in my mind.
It's going to go really bad for Doc.
The new book is just bad. And for the first time in a long time, Doc just gets kicked in the teeth with a really unfortunate battle tome.
Okay. Well, this is, as Rerolling Jack's one said, or Rerolling One's Jack said, is that, they're about to pay for the sins of their past.
Maybe.
That's what I think that's what this book is.
Or, well, we haven't seen enough battle tomes yet, right? So the question is, we seem to be on a decent enough trajectory with the quality of verisimilitude of the battle tomes so far. We could talk about why Bone Splitters are such a mess, but that's different discussion, right? Certainly for Ironjaws, somewhat for Cruel Boys, certainly for Nurgle and Stormcast. We had 3 solid tomes with 3 interesting mechanics and a fair amount of verisimilitude where the armies felt mostly like where they're supposed to be. Are there problem units? Yes. Do things need to be adjusted in some of those? Yes. They're not perfect tomes. Please don't mistake me or mishear me. But they're stronger. We haven't had a full flat tome so far, I suppose, unless you're only a Bone Splitters player, in which case this is a bad time to be you. But the daughter's book, one, didn't need to exist at all. Does not need to. The fact that they would have been starting this, knowing that... I don't know how these two didn't overlap. Okay, like, they were in the design phase of this one before they had released the last one. It's crazy.
Maybe. They said the turnaround on Doc books is 1 year. And this one is basically going to release a year and a month or 2 from when the last one released.
Okay, they release it and then immediately go back into the planning room. But the point is they knew what was going on.
Right.
Okay.
But you got to remember, not only was it that, it was they had the prior book from first edition.
Yeah.
They did Broken Realms of Morathi.
Yeah.
3 months later, they released that second doc book.
I remember.
And then they go back in the planning room for this book.
Yep. I don't like this. That's the bottom line. There are many armies that need a tome, and the problem with Doc could have been fixed with an FAQ. There are books I'd like to see rewritten that are recent. Okay.
Slanesh?
Sure. Personally, Slanesh being one of them. I'd love to see him rewrite Sons of Behemoth.
Here's something. Slanesh only needs a 20% point reduction.
Even then, it would still be bad, Tom. Like, maybe it'd be more competitive, but it'd still be a bad book, because it's just a bad book. Bad book is bad book. It's badly designed. But anyways, like, it needs a ground-up rewrite. Trust me, as someone who plays that army, okay? But again, I wouldn't care. I'd happily put that to the side to get Gitz a book, Beasts a book, right? We could look at it. We could name a bunch of armies that are in a dire state right now.
Yep.
Now, one of those armies in a dire state is the other army up here, I would argue. Like, before Nagash came on, these guys were in a pretty dire state. Fortunately, Nighthaunt are getting their book, which is good. So I support that, and I'm happy about it. But I just, like, with this Daughters book, it's either going to be a bad book, which I don't think so, or here's what I hope. If we can turn this into a positive, okay?
Okay.
Like, what do I hope happens? I hope we properly capture the spirit of this army in a glass cannon-y melee murder force where we can run witch elves and sisters and stuff like that again as a viable strat. Sure. And improve the overall internal balance so it's not just bow snakes for the shoot win. That's what I hope. Right? And so if we're going to have to be saddled with this, which clearly we are, it's too late, right? Again, there are at least 5 other tomes I would have easily said I would have rather had than this. I mean, that's bare mins. Probably could go as high as 10.
You had at least another year of not this tome.
Correct. Right? But if we're going to be saddled with this, then I at least hope it utilizes the whole army better, gets rid of Morathi's toxic command ability, okay, and makes it so you can lean into the different aspects of the army more in a more internally balanced fashion.
Sure.
And by the way, they might have to also touch reinforcement points a little bit to do that.
Yeah.
So, yes, like, if you don't win fast, you lose hard. I agree, Gumber. Yeah, that's right. You know? So, and by the way, smaller the things for me. Here we go. The murder wagon that's about murder and celebrating murder and is at the head of your murder squad of murder elves doesn't give a +1 bonus to AC anymore.
Sure.
Okay.
Maybe
like, it's not bumping saves.
Maybe a +1 bonus to wound.
Yeah. Have it celebrate murder. Yes, correct. Okay, so that's a small thing. I have no idea why that mechanic always worked like that. It makes 0 sense to me that...
Blood Shield, Vince. Blood Shield.
I know its name. The murder wagon should inspire murder and celebrate murder, not what it does now. Get rid of the rerollable ward save prayer. That should have been killed in the last one. I can't believe it survived this long. Third rail of the game. Ward saves do not, under any circumstance, get rerolled. Done.
Sure.
I would etch that into a stone tablet and hang it in the office. Okay. Period.
Sure.
And then, I don't know, make the Avatar of Cain super awesome.
And not need to be activated. Just make it awesome.
Just make it awesome. Make it awesome. We've got the new Avatar of Cain. Just make it awesome. Make it a cool monster I can run around. Yes, that's all I want. There you go.
Sure. Make all portions of the army playable.
Yeah, like have some good strats for Witch Elf focused, or you know what I'm saying, like Murder Girl focused.
Can I ask a question?
Hit me. I'm ready.
Is Har Quran in this book?
Is Har Quran in this book? Sure, why not? I don't know. But sure, why not?
Like the city from Broken Realms of Marathi.
I understand. What used to be Anvilgard, yes. Marathi's new capital city, yes. I mean, yes, why not? Put it in the book, sure.
Like, I'm wondering if maybe this happened this way because we actually, like, there's maybe a deeper change because of that narrative than what we even anticipated. Like, maybe this faction doesn't look like what we thought it was. Like, I'm conspiracy theorying right now.
Yeah, sure.
But maybe we're underestimating the actual implications of what Battletome or Broken Realms from Marathi did.
It'd be interesting.
And the reason I bring that up, like Mike in the chat made a comment about Cain worshipping executioners.
Yeah, sure.
Like maybe we do get Har Quran here, which is her city.
Sure. More potential integration of the Dark Elf stuff in a new rules package in this book.
Right. Like, you know, we're going to talk about this, I think, in a minute about Lumineth. But maybe Lumineth have Settlers Gain baked into their book.
Right.
Like, maybe that's where we see the specialized cities that are associated with other races are in those races' books, not in a city's book.
Sure. Yeah, I could see that.
So, just something to think about. Mm-hmm. Because, like, that's the way that you stop all the scrolls from getting really big. I don't know.
Sure. Okay. Anything else you want to say about Doc/Nighthaunt?
I look forward to my ghosts. And my ghost box, because it'll fill out the rest of my Nighthaunt to appropriate size units.
Good. Glad to hear it. Okay. I hope Marathi in her new book just fully ascends all the way and just dispatches with this Cain nonsense and is just like, nah, it's me now. You feed me. Cain is dead. I am Cain. Right? Just completely dispatches with the pageantry. Narratively. That's a narrative thing. Okay, Tom. Here we go. This is me putting on my tinfoil hat, Tom. You ready?
My favorite.
Chaos Battletome and Order Battletome. First, let's comment on the all-important thing, which is the art on these covers and how it means nothing. This is stock art out of the original core rulebook. So yes. Read nothing into the art other than they grabbed a stock piece of Order art and a stock piece of Chaos art that they had from their art assets from the core rulebook. So
yep.
That's what that means. Okay. Now, here's how I want to do this, Tom. We're going to start the future tinfoil hatting like this. Okay?
Yep.
What do you want them to be? Name both ones that you think they should or you want them to be. It can be either. It doesn't have to be realistic is my point, right? So I want you to give a want and then a what you think they are going to be, which there may or may not be a delta there.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. Yep.
So, what is your want? What do you think it is in reality? Desire reality.
My want for Chaos is a fully redone Skaven line with all new sculpts for everything.
Okay.
All of it.
I understand.
All of it.
All of it. Everyone. Yes.
All of it.
Okay.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
And my want for the Order Battletome is the Grungy United Dwarves.
Which we're definitely not getting, but sure.
Yes,
I got it.
Right.
I get it. It's fine. This is the want area.
Yep. Now, my prediction.
Yes.
I think it'll be Khorne.
Okay.
And I think it'll be Lumineth.
Okay. Do you want to say why you think that's the case?
Yeah. I think Khorne needs to be updated. It's one of the Chaos ones that's in most crisis. Sure. I also think that
Khorne, you cast a wide net. Chaos is in disrepair right now. Chaos is literally in chaos because you've got Khorne, Skaven, Beasts, arguably Slaanesh, just all being trash fires right now.
We have the new Warcry box dropping this summer.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're on the 3-year cycle. It's Warcry this summer. So my prediction is that we will get the Skaven that we've gotten hints at. I think will be in the Warcry box.
Okay.
So I think that we'll get like a new Eshin Warcry box this summer with another normal Chaos Warband. So it'll be Skaven versus, whatever. For Warcry. And I think for what we'll get for Khorne is I think we'll get a revisiting of Khorne, which just dovetails with this Bloodthirster that's dropping for
with Cabana. Yeah, sure.
With Cabana. I think that it's a melee army. It'll provide a nice counterbalance to what's currently in the meta. And I think that it could be an interesting revisiting. And it, again, like when you look at the time, when you look at the resources, we're getting Khorne soon. And Chaos Gods tend to get updated quickly when new editions drop.
Okay. All right, here's mine. What I want.
Oh, and then Lumineth.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, back up the Lumineth. Go ahead.
Because Lumineth are Lumineth. I think we're getting more Lumineth. And
sure.
And they are another problem faction that just needs to get addressed. And a lot of their stuff just simply needs redesigned. Then you need to have a book in order to fix some of the problems.
Sure. Okay.
Like Star Metal weapons should probably be.
You mean Sun Metal, but yes, I know what you meant.
Sun Metal should probably be double hitting on 6s, not doing mortal wounds.
Sure. Okay. Let's start with Chaos. What I want. I am assuming our releases this year will not bring us any new resculpted lines in AOS. That's my starting point. Okay? I just don't think it's going to happen this year.
Sure.
Given that because we're now going to eat the pandemic lull.
Yeah.
Right? This year is when the pandemic lull in sculpting will come home to roost.
Right. These are book updates.
Yes. Because what would have needed to be sculpted to release now would have had to be done in 2020. Okay?
Right. And we had a bunch of delays.
And that was the worst of it. UK's under hard lockdown. Everybody's from home. Yes, people can still do some ZCAD and all that at home on their computers, but everything's running slow. Everything's way behind. Right? Okay. So we're going to reap the now is the time. We sowed the wind. Now is the time to reap the whirlwind. Yep. And that means no new model ranges this year. Maybe until the very end of the year.
Right.
Okay. Because their limited capacity was done through all of the 40K stuff we've seen. The redesigned Eldar range, the redesigned Chaos stuff. That just took up all the bandwidth and oxygen in the room. Right?
Right. And realistically, that's where a bulk of your market is. So that, of course, that's what they're going to do.
Right. So I think that's going to be the focus. I think maybe if we get a new army, it's going to be the end of the year thing, like Bone Reaper style.
Yep.
Q4.
Yep.
Okay. So given that reality, that's how I'm thinking, what I want is how do we make the best out of that situation? And what I want in that case is a new Khorne book. Because Khorne doesn't need any new units. I mean, maybe a new Volkia, but they've shown they can sculpt a single hero. So cool, sculpt a new Volkia.
Yep.
Right? Slam Dunkaroonie. Khorne has too many freaking units as it is already. You get a resculpted Volkia. You got a great hero to put in a box or something. Job's a good one.
Yep.
Right? Excellent. Just make good use out of everything that they...
So do you think... Is that what you want? Or do you think
that's what I want. That's what I want. Okay?
Is Khorne.
Is Khorne, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. What I want out of the Order Battle Tome... Let's take a little journey through that, okay? It's not cities, because they had a Tome Celestial. It's not Daughters, because we just saw the Daughters book. It's not Fire Slayers, it's not Idneth, because we just saw both of their books. Okay? We can do a hard process of elimination on Order. Okay?
Yeah. Yep.
It's not KO, because Fire Slayers existed. And they're not going to do 2 Dwarf books back-to-back, with 2 relatively unpopular armies. Okay? Seraphon had a Tome Celestial, so they're a nope. Okay. Stormcast just got their book. So who does that leave you? That leaves you Lumineth,
Sylvaneth.
Okay. Right? Process of elimination. There's only 2 options. Because of how heavily weighted we've been on both Order Tome Celestials and Order books. All right?
Right.
What I want it to be is Sylvaneth. Because their current book is...
Yep.
And it would be nice, and it's a fairly old book, and it would be really nice.
But the Chaos Battle Tome is Skaven. I think they gave the game away in the description, because in the description for this they said Chaos is getting up to some mischief. Now, yes, I'm aware that like blah 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 mischief is the name of a group of rats. I don't know if they're that clever or not. It doesn't matter. Okay. Yep.
They don't put the word mischief into a description of a Chaos Battle Tome unless they're talking about Skaven. That's it. It's that simple. What Chaos faction causes mischief? Skaven. End of list.
Yep. Unless you, for some reason, did Tzeentch, but that's more schemes than mischief.
It's not mischief. There's a difference, right?
No, right. Yep.
Like, obviously, Khorne is not a mischief maker. Tzeentch is a schemer, a plotter.
Yeah.
Right? All of that. World shaper, plan maker, rump shaker, right? But not mischief maker. Okay? It's not Nurgle. We know that, because obviously that book already happened. Right? Beasts have their Tome Celestial, so they're out. Like, they're getting their Tome Celestial next month, so they're out. And they're not mischief makers anyways. There's only one. It's Skaven. Which makes me sad, because that means we're going to get a Skaven line, or Skaven book, and probably not the redesign we all want.
Right. That's why I was hoping that it wasn't... That's why I chose not Skaven, is because I'm hoping that they saw the wisdom of waiting and doing a whole relaunch of Skaven.
I just think we're getting the book. And it's going to be... I think they gave the game away with Mischief. I really do. And I don't just mean because that's a group of rats is called a Mischief. No, because they're communicating exactly what they intend.
Indeed.
Okay. So, like, that's it. Right? I just think that's what it is. And it's not going to be something... I know I've seen a lot of Chaos Dwarves in the chat. I'm sure we'd all love to see whatever that is. Clearly, they've been teasing the Oathbreakers or Chaos Dwarves for a while.
That won't come until next year.
But yeah, that's a next year thing. Like they got to stretch that way out.
Yeah.
They got to drop more hints for another year before we get that thing.
Yep.
It's just and again, because they'd have to introduce a whole new range, we're probably not getting a whole new range.
I agree with that.
At least not in the first half of the year.
Yep.
What is the Order Battle Tome actually? It's totally Lumineth. Of course it's Lumineth. Are you out of your mind? It's not going to be a Sylvaneth book. Here's the easy way you know it's actually Lumineth. I've already pointed out that there's only 2 potential books, Sylvaneth and Lumineth. Yep. Because of process of elimination. Okay? So ask yourself, who needs the book more? It's not that one. It's that easy. Okay, that's not how these things work.
Like C Doc.
Yeah. Like of course it's going to be Lumineth.
Well, and we know like one of the GW folks was on stream not too long ago, like last year, and he's like, "Oh, we have so much more Lumineth to come."
Right.
Like they literally said that on stream.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yes, it's another, and no, it's not Tyrion.
No, it'll just be another temple. It'll just be more technically.
It'll be Water Temple and War Hippos.
By the way, they're trotting this out. We could have Lumineth books every year for the next 5 years. Like it's just.
Which, let's be clear, like that's like Lumineth are the new Stormcast.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely true. Everybody's like, not more Stormcast. I'm like, more Stormcast? They went like 3 years without a release. What are you talking about?
No, Lumineth are where the cash cow is right now.
Yeah, absolutely. They're selling these elves like hotcakes.
They know elves sell.
So, I mean, I just think it's going to be Skaven and Lumineth. Do I want it to be something else? Yes. Because I want the Skaven line resculpted, or at least a lot of stuff updated. But here we are. So, you know, I don't want to burst anyone's bubble. And by the way, if it turns out we're right, like if it turns out to be Sylvaneth, I'm going to be thrilled. Just thrilled.
Totally.
Somebody asked, could it be Malarian? No. See previous comment about sculpting a whole army. I don't believe in 2022. For the very least, the first half to 3/4 of the year, we're going to get a whole new army release.
Yeah,
they burnt all the studio on doing 40K, and they just didn't have the time to do a bunch of.
Is that dual box of Island of Blood again? But it's Lumineth versus Old Skaven.
Sure. Yeah. Just Island of Blood 2022. It's back, baby.
And so you get Clan Rats, but you get Storm Fiends this time. And you get the rocket launcher Skaven for your engineer equivalent. And then you get, hypothetically, in that mix, you get Wardens, Swordmasters, Kangaroo Riders, and a new hero.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think for the Lumineth Part 3, you're going to get, like, a new book with one new hero, maybe a cross-booze type unit. Maybe that's what we can afford this year. You know, maybe we get, like...
No.
I'm just saying, that's your best-case scenario.
For Lumineth. No.
Yeah.
I'm calling it. No, I'm calling we get a new temple, and that means that we get one new infantry unit, one new monster unit, like elemental monster, an associated hero, and so like one new elementary unit, one new hero, one new monster. That's what I'm calling.
Okay.
Like
a new fox / mountain guy is what you're saying.
Yeah, a new fox / mountain. That's going to be like a hippo.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're going to get some type of like Rue Rider equivalent that is also that is like their elementary, and then some like hero riding a wave.
Yeah. Tom, I have never wanted to be wrong about a prediction more. I just want that openly stated.
Sure.
I'm just assuming in 2022 we officially live in the worst timeline. And like this is I'm assuming we just live in the darkest timeline, and this is what we're gonna get.
As Kieran already said, I think that this is the case, by the way, because everything was already sculpted. Like the Lumineth stuff was all done at once. I firmly believe this, and that they have literally just cut it out. They've parted it out. Like I think that Lumineth. So like I think that they are going to be the exception to the sculpting rule, because I think they were already done. And this is a plug-and-play situation where they can grab those, send them to the printers, and just produce what they need.
Gotcha. Yeah. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong on both of these. I really do.
And for the elementary, because they're going to be associated with water, they'll use whips or something like that.
Water whips.
Or flails. Something like...
Oh, water flails.
Like flippy.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Like swishy.
Okay.
And hippos.
So let's talk here at the end, just a quick timeline. So this is how that all shakes out, right? We're talking about winter, spring, summer. So this is the first half of the year, effectively.
Yep.
Right. And so we know this is our 6 battle tomes for the first half of the year. Who do you want to see beyond this? Who are your picks? Like if you get, let's say, Tom, for the rest of the year, you get 3 more battle tomes. I'm going to give you 3 battle tomes for the rest of the year. So we get 9 total this year.
New army or refreshes?
I don't care. You get 3 battle tomes. They can be whatever you want. What's your want? What's your think? For like what's beyond this? By the way, we might get more than that battle tomes. I'm just saying, let's limit it to 3 to make it interesting.
Get.
Okay.
Revisited cities.
Okay. So, like, would this be specifically Dawnbringer Crusades, basically?
Yep.
Okay.
Dawnbringer, good. And I would accept Cities 2.0.
Sure. Sure.
So, like, Settlers Gain, Harkonnen, and something, like other new cities that aren't the prior cities, yada, yada.
Sure.
So Gets, and Beastmen. That's obvious.
And Beasts, yeah, sure.
Beasts again.
Yeah. Like, if we only got 3 for the rest of the year, understanding that there is a lot more than 3 armies that need updating.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So, like, we all accept that there's like, we're going to get to the end of 2022 and there's going to be some losers here.
Yep.
Right. We're not going to all, we're just, with this being the first half of the year, unless the second half of the year is similarly packed plus.
Yep. Yep.
Then we're going to have people who come out of 2022 still running on fumes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's almost why I'm not sure I want a new army, because if we get a whole new army, that's just, it's so much bandwidth it soaks up. But anyways, if I had to pick 3, I wouldn't pick anything new. As much as I'd love to see what Malarian's cooking, as much as I'd love to see Chaos Dwarves, I don't disagree with any of those things. I think they're all super cool. Like, I am deeply excited for if Tyrion brings Angel Elves or Malarian brings Shadow Demon Elves. Like, oh man, a bunch of Shadow Demon Dragons. It sounds amazing, right? Or Chaos Dwarves rolling in big AOSified artillery trains and stuff. Just like death trains. Choo choo! That sounds incredible. But I just...
Are you gonna get that army if they release it?
I mean, it would be the first dwarf army I'd ever own in my life. I would say it'd give me pause. It could enrapture me, Tom.
What if you paint it like Thomas the Train and you do like Zinj blue?
Sure. I don't know. But like I said, it could be the first dwarf army I've ever bought. I'll say that much, if it was cool enough. At any rate. My feeling on the 3 that, like, absolutely we should see. Well, there's a notable Grand Alliance missing from the first half of the year. So let's just start there. Destruction, right. So my picks for the 3 I would like to see, okay, would be Gits and Ogres. I'm going to give 2 to Destruction in the back half of the year.
Wow.
All right. And then Beasts as the 3rd one.
Yep.
Those are my picks. There are other ones that need it. I'm sorry, Khorne. Like, I really am. You know that I wanted the Chaos Battle Tome to be them. And hey, maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe it will be Khorne.
So can I say something?
But those would be my 3.
Yep. Can I say something controversial? I think that there should be a cities book released every year.
Sure, just always like it should be a known quantity that there's a cities book every year.
Yep.
Okay.
I do. And I think that it should be like pick 3 realms.
Yeah, just explore the cities in those realms.
And explore the cities in those realms.
Sure.
That's it. They should absolutely do that every year.
Yeah.
And then tying them in with the like, you get a new army release in the spring, like some new sculpted thing like Malarian's Elves, or you get some new dwarf army or whatever. And then in the back half of that year, that army gets integrated into one of the cities. In addition to the other cities that are released in that stuff. Does that make sense?
Sure.
And they do a release like that every single year. I firmly believe that.
I think that'd be awesome. It'd be fantastic. I'd have 0 issue with that.
And that's all like just reusing kits that are already out there.
Especially if it was expansion, and so you didn't need to have it, because like if you have the city you love and you want it, you're good. You know this is just new cities, right? So it's not replacing your old functionality.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. Like, you're not reprinting Hammerhall.
Yeah.
That like, so you're only reprinting the Hammerhall city book with those types of cities or equivalents once every 4 years.
Yeah.
As you're cycling through these.
Yep.
Like, it just, to me, like, we've said it before about like cities to all new realms, but like, I think that this game is broad enough that you could easily do cities like that. And as somebody said, what about more Lumineth? Yeah, they get included in one of those books in the Haitian cities.
Sure.
I mean, it writes itself.
Yep.
So that seems like low-hanging fruit. I don't think they'll do that or not, but that's what I would do.
Yep. Okay. I don't know, Dan. Doubtful at this point. I doubt it. I think that I'm glad we got some kind of roadmap. So I want to talk about the positive here at the end, just to leave on this. I like this sort of thing, especially right now in a rough time. I know it's hard for them to roadmap right now. I know we're still in the middle of a lot of disruptions worldwide to supply chains and things like that. I know that's still going on. So for them to put this out right now says they have a pretty high confidence that they'll be able to hit this. They're just doing quarters, and that's fine. I'm okay with it. I hope that as we come out of the others... What's that?
I think from like doing quarters, I don't need specific month releases. Just be like, here's the general order of where we're going.
Yeah, agreed. I would hope that as we get on the other side of all of this, hopefully over the next year, that we can go either with a longer roadmap or we could dial it into months or something like that, right? Or whatever. You know, that maybe we can, that maybe we could see more than theoretically like 6 months. I think it'd be great. So I like this concept. Please keep expanding on it. Thank you for doing it. GW, this is good. This is their current rough estimate. This is all subject to change. Yes, great point, Hooves. But I'm amazed they decided to release this now with the world being how it is.
I'm impressed.
So I say keep it up. Please refine it and expand it. And let's go from there. All right, cool. That brings us to the end. That's everything. All right, man. Well, anything else you want to say before we call it a night, Tom?
I mean, we really didn't talk about it, but it's been a great 7 years.
It has. It really has. Here's to many more years to come.
Yeah,
they keep making stuff. We'll keep talking about Warhammer every week, every Wednesday.
Every Wednesday. It's been 7 years. The number of Nurgle.
It has. Yes. We already passed my Slanesh celebration last year. I didn't even think about it. So maybe this is next year, if we don't end up getting a Khorne book this year, maybe it comes out at the beginning next year and we'll be talking about it like it releases in January, and on our 8th anniversary we'll have a Khorne book, and maybe that'll be nice how that all lines up.
That would be wonderful, wouldn't it?
There we go.
So, well, to 7 more years. How's that sound?
There you go.
At least. I mean, you might be dead by then, but I'll
I got 7 more years in me, but I'm all right.
You got 7 more years. Okay, good. Let's aim for that. Hey, let's aim for 10, and then it'll be like the longest commitment that I've ever had in my life.
But we'll do it. Everybody hit like, hit subscribe. Thank you everybody for coming to the 7-year anniversary, whatever this is, spectacular to us talking about all these releases and roadmaps and doing this future planning. We're so glad that all of you have continued to join us on this journey. We love all of you, and we very much appreciate you watching. As always, thank you, Tom, for coming along on this journey with me. Thank you to all who watched. We very much appreciate it. Don't forget to hit those buttons. And as always, we'll see you next Wednesday.